It's that time of year. The air crisp, the trees bare. And just as the winds of change beckon in a new season, same is true in collegiate sports.
The exchange.
What happened? The tables just completely turned.
The gridiron makes way for the hard court as the world awaits that which is the most dramatic of all.
This game is the most unexpected game I have seen in my life.
Rivalries, Davids, Goliaths, and upsets.
Missouri just completely blundered and resigned. Man, Alexander, I was about to give you the biggest hype-up speech.
This is the time of year for brackets, soon to be the time of year we've all come to know as March Madness. And on the 64-square chessboard, some things are different, but some are the same.
Oh my goodness, how is there not double exclam on this move?
The CCL is back as college's best compete for their moment in the sun.
Just immediately blunder and resign.
We did it again,
Oh my
Joe. We
goodness.
jinxed it again.
Will the Billikens of St. Louis University three-peat and cement themselves as a dynasty in collegiate chess?
Huge congratulations to SLU winning the championship.
Or will six-time national champions Webster University bring their championship pedigree to the CCL? There are President's Cup winners, favorites, underdogs, and sure to be plenty of drama. This is the 2024 Collegiate Chess League spring season, and it starts now.
Welcome to the 2024 Collegiate Chess League spring season presented by SIG. I'm your host, Anna Cramling, and I am joined by CCL expert Joe Lee. Joe, how are you doing today?
Anna, I am so excited to be here. This is the regular season finale. We've been waiting 2 months for this, Anna. This is where the regular season standings are going to be finalized, and we're going to finally see the playoff seedings for these championship brackets.
I am so excited. We got two great matches happening today. We're going to be starting with Webster versus University of Chicago. And we actually haven't seen Chicago on broadcast before. So for us, it's going to be a debut to see them this season, which I'm very excited about. Now, like you said, Joe, this is the final week of the regular season. So let's go ahead and check out how the standings are looking right now. Here we have the standings, and we can see that at the top, we have St. Louis University and Webster University. And they've been looking so strong this whole season, Joe. I mean, we've both said that these just feel like they are going to be the winners. But is there any chance for any of the other teams to take them over and to get a final top two standing in the regular season, would you say?
Well, Missouri takes on SLU at the top, so that's going to be a very interesting one, because if Mizzou beats SLU, I don't think Mizzou could pass them, but I do think Mizzou could pass Webster, depending on how they do. And UTRGV has a match to play as well. So UTRGV looking to take down Athens to take a top two spot. So it's all up to SLU and Webster. They have their destiny in their own hands. I think they can clinch a spot in the top two with a win here today, but they still have to get through this last round in order to do that.
Yeah, so today's round is still very important, and they cannot slack now. This is not the moment for slacking. This is the moment for still winning. And I mean, one of the players that we really need to keep an eye on today for Webster is Grandmaster Harsha Baratakoti, who just last week played an amazing match versus SLU. I mean, he took 3.5 points out of 4, and he was the highest performer in that match amongst all players. How scared should Chicago be to face Harsha today, would you say, Joe?
Well, I don't know if Chicago's necessarily that scared, because they're definitely a strong team. They have strong players, of course, like Awonder, who I'm really excited to watch. But of course, Harsha going up against the top seed, the number one team in the league, SLU, only going, one draw out of 4 and winning the rest is absolutely mind-boggling. I know if I played these 4 players, I probably wouldn't even get a draw. So 3.5 out of 4 is a fantastic score for Harsha. We're definitely going to keep an eye out on him, but I cannot wait to watch Awonder Liang, one of the most talented players in the league. Always very interesting. And you never know what to expect with the Chicago team, because last season we watched them play. They've played Bon Cloud openings before. Maybe we'll see a cow opening today, Anna.
I was
What do you
gonna
think on
ask
that?
you, Joe, what are the chances he plays the cow? I mean, I don't really know Awonder Liang, but you've seen him for a full season. Knowing him, what are the chances he plays the cow opening today?
Well, I'm curious to know how good his cow opening prep is. Depends on maybe how much he's watching the stream or watching your streams these days. But I know one thing's for sure. No matter what opening he plays, he's going to have some chances. So I can't wait. We're in for a treat today.
I'm very excited to see what he brings to the table. Let's check out the board assignment. So we see here that there's actually some new names, and especially for Webster, I cannot remember seeing Grandmaster Benjamin Bok playing for Webster. It's typically been Aram Hakobian. So is he new now, Joe?
Yeah, Benjamin Bok was added mid-season. He wasn't on the team at the start because he wasn't registered, but the Collegiate Chess League allows for players to join in as subs. So he's subbing in today for Aram Hakobian, as you mentioned, but Bok could definitely be one of the top players for Webster and a weapon to use in the playoffs once the matches are higher stakes and their season's on the line. So interesting to see him getting in today. This is going to be his debut on broadcast. And they also have Anna Sargsyan joining again, as we've seen before. So another Anna joining the broadcast.
I am very excited about having another Anna joining the broadcast. There's going to be occasions, Joe, where you're going to say Anna, and I'm not going to be sure if you're talking about me or her. But I'm very excited to see that. And then in Chicago as well, something that I'm noting is the fact that they have Grandmaster Awonder Liang, who is rated 2900 here on Chess.com. They have an international master as well. But then their bottom two players, their board 3 and 4, they are actually untitled. They don't have a title. And we've seen that in this tournament. I mean, I feel like almost everybody's a grandmaster. So Joe, how difficult is it going to be for them to score points on board 3 and 4, would you say?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them for sure. They're definitely the underdogs, but importantly, Chicago is missing their board 2, Praveen Balakrishnan, another grandmaster, and he's been a key to their success in seasons past and throughout this season as well. He's unfortunately unable to join today as he's out and about. But that's why Chicago has been such a dominant force. They've won actually the entire season. They were the champions back in season 3. So Chicago, you can't sleep on this team. Even though this is a regular season match, they still have a great chance to make playoffs and could do some damage there as well. So Chicago has to bring up some of their B team players to fill in today. That's going to be Cole Moses and Miles Brown. But they definitely have some chances to take down some of the other players from Webster. So this is a good opportunity for them.
Let's check out the lineups then. The match is just about to start and we're so excited. And now in round number 1, we are going to be seeing the board 1s playing versus board 4s. The board 2s playing against the board 3s. So there's going to be definitely, I mean, we see that Benjamin Bok, he's going to be playing as Cole Moses. There's a huge rating difference over there. So it's going to be exciting to see if somehow Cole Moses and Miles Brown can create a surprise. I like rooting for the underdog, and I think it's going to be really fun to see if they're able to create anything, because I mean, Joe, they're like slightly higher rated than us, you know. We're pretty close in rating to these people. Finally,
you want to sub in for Chicago, Anna? You want to be a board 4?
I would love to. That would be amazing. I mean, I've never been to Chicago. I don't know if I have any connection to Chicago, but I would love to do that.
We could enroll you in a 1-day course and be. I'm just kidding. The Collegiate Chess League, you have to be a fully enrolled student, but that would be a great lineup for round 4, Anna versus Anna, and that would be awesome. I don't think we've seen a woman player versus another player in D1 so far this season. But congrats, Anna! Happy International Women's Day yesterday, and we're still celebrating today. So it's gonna be awesome to watch not only you commentate, but also your fellow Anna to compete. So we're rooting for her as well.
And here we actually have her getting ready. She is just a few moments away from competing. Right before I compete, I like to get a coffee. I like to get some water. Maybe she's doing that too, but I think she's just getting mentally prepared for this important match because it's going to be really important. I mean, like we said, Webster, they kind of need to win if they want to secure that top 2 spot. And I was wondering, Joe, Chicago, if they lose, they have a chance of not making the playoffs, right? Like, they have a chance of getting passed by.
Yeah, Athens could leapfrog them. Right now, they're sitting at that 6th spot, but we see Awonder Liang. If he's got anything to do with it, he's going to make sure his team makes playoffs because they barely missed it last season. Looks like Awonder's got his bed head rocking, his hair a little messy, but I think he probably just woke up. Perhaps, maybe.
That could be a style, Joe. That could be a style. You can't say that. Here we have Benjamin Gledora. He is sitting very calmly in his room and just getting ready as well. I was thinking that, this background is a little bit, plain. He could maybe add a few pictures in there. Like you do, Joe. You have some fantastic chessboards over there in your background. I love it.
Yeah, pro tip for any chess player out there that maybe is lacking in decor around their place, and Anna would comment on it. You just throw up some chessboards and then all looks fine. Yeah.
So simple, but he doesn't really need it, to be honest. We're the ones that need it because we're commentators. So it's very different, I think. We can also remind everybody of the match format in case this is your first time watching the Collegiate Chess League and you're kind of wondering what is going to happen. Well, we're going to be seeing 4 versus 4 team chess. The 2 teams are going to play against each other, 4 people in each team, and all boards play each other. The time control is 5+2. So the games go pretty fast. These are blitz games. There's no time to think pretty much. There's only time to do. The first team to get 8.5 points wins the match. And just like usual, you get 1 point per win, 0.5 points per draw. And if the score is tied, then this goes to very exciting tie breaks. We need to have a winner. We cannot leave without a winner. There's no draws here. There's only winners. So we are going to be seeing a winner. We're also seeing now all the players pretty much. They're almost all of them there. They're getting ready right now, sitting in front of their computer screens and just waiting for the match to start. And this is how we're all sitting right now, to be honest.
It looks like we're missing just one player, but I think we should be able to just get the round started. He's got maybe a couple minutes to show up, but honestly, I'm just happy Chicago's here because this is their first match on broadcast. You obviously want to have all 4 players. But you know what? The show must go on. So we actually saw SLU last week. They had their board 4 down Basura and Batsura miss the first 2 rounds of the match, and that ended up costing them dearly. They lost that match by 1 point to, I believe it was UTRGV.
Yeah, and that was obviously, huge. Playing without one player, you're playing without 25% of your team. So obviously it's huge. Definitely not a situation Chicago wants to be in, especially against Webster. We're talking about one of the top teams of the whole league. So yeah, you don't want to be a little bit weaker team showing up without one of the players. So hopefully we'll get Cole in here very soon. But chess is like any sport, right? You have a certain amount of time where you can be late, but after that, you lose the game. So we'll see if he shows up on time. I think the games are going to start in any moment. Am I right about that, Joe?
Yeah, we have, three boards that could definitely start, and we can start Cole's match clock. But I'm excited. I know the players are excited. Awonder hasn't been on broadcast since last season, and they barely missed out on playoffs by 1 tiebreak. Their head-to-head matchup against Columbia University, who is now in Division 2. So Chicago, even though the league has gotten stronger, we've had Webster join, we had Prague and Athens join. Chicago's still in it, and they're also in a playoff spot right now. So cheers to them. And now they're going to play against Webster, which is one of the favorites. So definitely a new matchup we haven't seen in the CCL either.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens. Obviously, new matchups and new players is always really fun. I think we saw his teammate now calling him, which was quite fun to see on camera. I think it was International Master Chandra, and he was calling his teammate to try to get him there. Hopefully he will be able to do so. But here we have the boards. They're kind of smiling. The whole Chicago team is smiling. I think they're laughing at the situation, maybe.
Yeah. It's tough when you have your lower boards are subbing up, right? So Chicago last minute putting this on all together for us. Of course, it's tough when you're missing Praveen. That's one of their top players, their board too. So
For sure. Maybe I can sub in for Cole, Joe. Maybe we predicted this all the way from the start that someone would have to sub in for them.
that's I don't know if I would allow that, Anna, but that would be fun for sure. So
I know, Joe. I know you are a great CCL commissioner, and I would not want you to go against your rules as your host. I would not like that. But I'm just saying, a little bit of chess is always fun.
yeah, and actually, you're not the first player to offer to play extra games for Chicago. As I mentioned, Awonder has offered to simul his opponents 1 versus 4. Actually, if I could share a message that he sent me in the past, he said against SLU, he think he could still win about 6 points at least on his own, like 1 versus 4, simuling 4 boards for 4 rounds.
That is amazing. But you didn't allow that, Joe.
That unfortunately might have to be saved for some sort of exhibition match
Okay.
later on in the line. So, yeah, we have some moves being played now. Actually, we have Kapil Chandran, board 2 versus Grigoriy Cantor, board 3 from Webster.
And we're seeing here white is playing an opening that I actually play myself quite a lot of times. So we're seeing here d4, and then knight of 6, c4, e6, and then this idea with going bishop a6. Black first attacks the pawn on c4, kind of saying, hey, I want white to place the queen on c2, and then they go bishop b7. And there's a few differences in going bishop b7 first or bishop a6 first. This is very theoretical. But the moves are happening very quickly right now. This is all theory. This has been played a million times, and I love this for white. But I am biased, Joe. I am biased, so I cannot maybe objectively say how it is. But I think that is really comfortable for white, because what you end up doing is that you end up playing as that d6 pawn. You place a rook on d1. You play against that d6 pawn. If black can play d5, they're doing fine. But look at that bishop on e3 threatening c5 as well. Yeah, I think it's very comfortable. White doesn't really have any weaknesses. The only thing white has is that black can maybe play knight d4 at some point, and that could maybe be a little bit annoying.
Now, rook d1, like you said, and that's actually going to prevent any knight d4 moves for the moment that would lose a pawn. But we see queen to e7 getting off of the d file and getting ready to get castled. So white, meanwhile, still has to bring that bishop out before they can castle. But I love how you said that you're biased and that you love this opening. You're talking about it like it's the cow opening. Like, I feel like this is still a pretty good opening. Like, you don't have to be biased to like this opening, Anna. This is a pretty decent opening, right?
No, it is a very decent opening. I mean, Joe, I love more things than the cow. I don't think that the cow is the best opening in the world. It's just an opening. But yeah, I really like this. We're seeing here even f3. I think that is so nice. You're just fully taking on control of that e4 pawn, and wow, queen f2. Okay, wow, I'm gonna learn some theory here. I feel like queen f2, very interesting.
I think when the time is right, white wants to play for e5 and really just go after. So we see black actually playing e5. I didn't think it was possible because the knight was covering that still, but queen and bishop lined up, perhaps trying to undermine the c5 pawn, and that would come with the skewer. But e5 also helping the knight land on d4. White, meanwhile, bringing the bishop and pinning this knight to the queen. This bishop still needs to come out so that white can get castled. But is there any threats with the knight on d4, or is it just kind of an annoying piece to have to work around?
I think it's mostly just an annoying piece to have to work around, but I'm very surprised about this move knight d5 because after bishop takes and pawn takes, I feel like white is playing with this bishop on f1, the bishop pair, but it's not really a great piece, this bishop on f1. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to go, and the knight on d4 is just a million times better. So I really like this for black. I'm very surprised that, yeah, Cantor played this move knight d5. But we will see what happens. Obviously, typically, bishop pair is known to be good, but sometimes we can see, yeah, very, very, very strong knights. And it's hard to get rid of that knight on d4. So rook b8, bishop c4. I don't know. I would take the black pieces here, Joe, by far. I really like this for black.
Okay, so the opening that you liked for Grigoriy Cantor, no longer so good, and we see the bishop coming all the way back to c1, a defensive move, but Grigoriy still is aiming to get castled, and Kapil, strong player, obviously normally board 3 for Chicago, but he's stepped up to board 2, taking over for Praveen, and if he can get some points here against Grigoriy Cantor, that's a great start for the Chicago team.
That is a fantastic start for the Chicago team, who are definitely the underdogs today. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens in this game. Let's maybe check out one of the other ones. I'm actually very intrigued by game number 4. We're seeing Anna right now having a crushing position versus Awonder Liang. I mean, look at this, Joe. This is amazing. She's completely winning versus Chicago's board number 1.
Yeah, actually, we gotta tune in and see what happened with Awonder's game. So we start off with knight a6, knight b4,
What is he doing?
Awonder in this is just typical Awonder fashion.
Is this the diamond opening?
He might have learned this from Nepo.
But what is he doing? This cannot be real. He lost 8 tempos pretty much on the knight.
Yeah, and he's not done there. So honestly, Anna, I think she's gonna win this one, but also Awonder, I'm never counting him out because I've seen too many crazy games like this and crazy comebacks. And look at his clock, like he's over 4 minutes still. But would be a miracle to see him bring, maybe not a miracle, but definitely I think we should keep an eye on this until Anna knocks him out.
Yeah. I think this is insane. I mean, if this is not Awonder Liang, I would be like, what is happening? What is going on? Why is black doing this? But it's like a part of me knows how strong Awonder Liang is, that it makes me feel like there's still a chance for him, and I hate that because this is just a completely lost position.
Yeah, I mean, the material is still even, right? We could see the eval bar, but players aren't perfect. They make mistakes.
They do.
And Awonder, he's almost ready to castle queenside. I mean, frankly, like White's king is starting to feel a little exposed, right? The H pawn is hanging. There's a rook on the G file. I think Awonder probably likes his chances here, to be honest.
Maybe, yeah, but I'm just seeing this bishop on g2 and the knight on d4 are both looking towards this knight on c6 that is just slowly but surely becoming weaker and weaker. King h2, Anna is keeping it pretty safe. Yeah, the question is how exactly you continue. That is, I guess, the question. But the king cannot stay forever on e8. With Anna's rook on e1, the knight on d4, putting pressure on that bishop. I really feel like the king needs to queenside castle soon. But then the question is, how safe will that queen be when doing that, as after queenside castle, there's knight takes c6, and then bishop takes a7. And, well, yeah, a lot of different things to think about, at least, into making that decision. So we will see. I'm really excited to see what happens, though. Anna is getting low on time. She has 2 minutes left, so anything can happen, to be honest.
Yeah, Awonder, he's actually investing some time here. I figured he would just castle, but you mentioned maybe losing the a7 pawn. So he is definitely thinking about that. But typically when you play like this, you have to have compensation in some form. And typically for Awonder, that's time management. So it's actually kind of a surprise he's giving some time back in this position.
For sure, for sure. I wonder if it's that he's actively giving time back or if he just doesn't exactly know what to do. because it's not really easy to find a move for black. I guess he's calculating if he can queenside castle or, yeah, how he should continue. But that bishop on h8, Joe, it is probably the worst bishop I've seen in my life.
That's rough for Awonder.
I'm sorry.
Worst bishop ever.
I mean, you have to admit, it doesn't have a single square to go to, and that pawn on f6 just looks completely defended. It feels very difficult to win back that pawn. So maybe Awonder will prove me wrong with that, but right now that bishop is not looking good.
Yeah, Awonder deep in thought. You can see him staring at the position, and yeah, his knight's getting tossed around, and we have perhaps some discoveries now, no? So bishop d4 played, knight back, and now probably you can just take the pawn with check, and then the king is going to go uncastled. So Awonder spent a lot of time there, decided not to castle, and that's probably going to cost him more than just his opening has cost him. But we actually see a result, his board two, his teammate Kapil Chandran getting a win, actually. Or is that sorry, Harsha Bharadakati getting a win. That is the board two for Webster. My apologies.
Yeah, so we have Webster right now 2-0. They did win that first match on forfeit as Cole Moses didn't show up for that game, and then Harsha has also won his game. So we only have 2 games ongoing right now where it's looking great for Webster in this board, but it's looking quite good for Chicago still on board number 3. So at any point, we can maybe go back and check out how that is going, if Kapil is going to be able to get the win versus Grigoriy Cantor, because it is looking like quite a good position for him. There we go. There we have it.
Here we go. This one.
There it is. Amazing. Yeah, so it's looking like a really, I mean, look at that. The king on g2 just looks so weak. Material-wise, are we equal? We are 1 pawn up for black, although now rook takes b4. Rook takes b4.
Yeah, that looks like a free rook, but nope, that's a check. Now here, Anna, I have a question. Would you block with the rook and hope that white pre-moved queen takes b4?
He has over a minute. You know I would not, Joe. There's too much time for that. In a bullet game, absolutely. But here, no. But yeah, I mean, now the queen is coming in. Look at that. Queen e2. Where does the king go?
Well, you have 2 choices. You have h3 or h1. h3, and now the queen's threatening checkmate. And the bishop on b3. So this is completely crushing for Kapil.
Yeah, this is now just going to be a piece win for black. And I think that Kapil is just going to take this home. So yeah, we can actually probably switch back to seeing how Anna does. I don't see any counterplay here for white. I think this is just going to be black winning. Unless, I mean, knight takes rook, queen takes pawn. You have to take with the queen here to make sure that you don't give too many pawns. But after that, I think it should just be winning for black.
Yeah, Kapil taking, and let's take a look at Anna versus Awonder. And okay, Anna's got 8 seconds, but she's still completely winning. Yeah, there goes a bishop. So up a bishop is Anna, but down on time. And Awonder's king is now joining the center of the board.
Yeah, but you know, Joe, this reminds me of situations where you just feel like everything wins, but you cannot find the checkmate. The king is running up the board and you feel like it must be completely over. Look at this. But I mean, this must be completely over. You're right now threatening almost the checkmate, yeah, with knight d4. The king goes there, king a3, wow.
The
and
king
now,
is staying alive. Check. Oh, you get into a windmill or a discovery.
Yeah, it's going to be a discovery here.
Block with a rook here. Nope.
Yeah. I mean,
that's unfortunate. He's picking up some pawns. No, he's just down a rook now.
He is just down a rook.
He's trying to flag, but there's increment.
There is increment.
Somebody tell Awonder.
Yeah, so he's just playing.
Check. He picks up an exchange. So he's down a bishop for a pawn. Now he's down a couple more pawns.
Okay.
No, this is game over.
I mean, yes, but you need to win that h5 pawn as white. I mean, get a pawn, because rook and bishop versus rook only, it's not that easy.
Yeah, true. Awonder's still playing for a draw here. He trades off those pawns, and now it's impossible to hold on to his H pawn. So that's a good move from Anna.
Yeah, so she needs to win that pawn, and then she's going to win with her H pawn most probably, which is so much easier than trying to go rook and bishop versus rook. I don't know if I would win that, Joe.
Well, interestingly, if he trades the rooks, this is actually still a draw because the pawn promotes on the wrong color square from our bishop. So Anna still has her work cut out for her, but as long as the rooks are still on the board, this is still winning for white.
Yeah, so, but you're very right about that. Because of the H8 square, the promotion square for that H pawn being a dark square, the opposite color of white's bishop, if they trade rooks, it's a draw. So it's very important for Anna to not mess that up. But she's now gaining time, just 26 seconds. And I think she's played fantastically there with a little time. It's not easy to just have a free rook. He blunders the rook.
Oh, a wonder.
Wow.
A blunder from a Awonder, a classic. All right, unfortunate. Awonder couldn't surmount his odds in the beginning. Maybe too many knight moves.
And actually, we see Capil winning. So if Awonder would maybe have played a more regular opening and really try to, you know, play a good game from the start, maybe Chicago would have had a chance to go 2-2, which would have been really big. So they do end up losing this first round 3-1, and I wonder if we're going to see Awonder playing these kind of troll openings again, or if he's going to go for more theoretical things. What do you think, Joe? Do you think this will put him off, or do you think he'll keep going?
Well, I'm just really glad for Anna to get her win. I know if you aren't able to convert that, it definitely feels bad. So I guess we're going to find out. Does Awonder keep going, or does this loss set him back to maybe a little be more serious? I might think that he would double down on it, honestly.
Let us know in chat what you think. What are your predictions about that? But we're soon going to be seeing round 2, and I am very excited. And I'm really happy for Anna too, just like you mentioned. It does feel bad losing against such an opening.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Anna probably could have taken on Awonder, even in a normal setting, because Anna's just a really strong player, and there's a reason why she's playing on the Webster team. So, we just know Awonder probably has. We've asked him. We've had him on interview last season, and he did the same, night hopping around all over the place opening, and he ended up winning that game. And we asked him, did you prepare for this opening at all? And he was like, yeah, I've done some lines, and I feel like it's honestly not that bad. Like, while I'm shuffling my knight, like, my opponent is pushing all their pawns and creating weaknesses, and then that's when I really take advantage of the position. So and then what's actually funny is Awonder tried the same thing against the SLU team top board Theodoru, who did it right back at him and beat him with his own opening. So
wow,
the players like to have fun in the CCL.
I do think that it's great to have some fun. But yeah, super happy to see once again Anna playing here. She played so well there, and I think that it is hard to play with so little time such a position, because you just feel like the checkmate is there, but you cannot find the checkmate and you get stressed. But I think she played it fantastically, very calm and just great moves, and yeah, very happy to see that. So the games have started now, round 2. There's still 3 more rounds to go in this match. Nothing is over yet, and I am sitting here, I am so curious about this position, because this is almost a cow. I mean, we have d3, e3. In fact, I think in official Chess.com theory, this could almost have been a cow. But let's see here. He is playing something a little bit less crazy than the knight moving around 5 squares in a row.
Yeah, definitely better. Probably what it is, Anna, is that now he has the white pieces.
Okay. And that makes a difference, that he really feels like he should win?
Yeah, I think with the black pieces, that was just his defense for whatever line Anna started with. But now with white, he can really kind of decide. Let's see actually what he did. So still with the knight moving around, but yeah. So not the cow opening, but hey, look, he's castled now.
You know what? This position doesn't look too crazy. And the eval bar is kind of agreeing with that, right? The eval bar is going up. The position surprisingly doesn't look that insane. But yeah, I'm shocked that you can move the knight out like this and get this position, because I feel like if I did this, my position would right now be just -5 almost.
Well, Anna, you play the cow opening. I thought you'd be used to this kind of.
Joe, the cow opening is not -5. In a lot of lines, the cow opening is only -0.5. So you need to add that 0 in. So,
Wow.
maybe I should give you a little cow opening lesson.
Yeah, I think Awonder is just championing these lesser known openings, knight h3, knight g1. So and the position it's not even -1. So
No,
it's pretty
exactly.
good.
And now we see black that's kind of trying to create a pawn avalanche on the queen side. A6, b5, c5. There's also right now a threat on e5 as the knight on f3 is pinned. So we see Awonder going g4. I thought we would see bishop f4 protecting the pawn, but instead we see this move g4. And I'm thinking if he is going to play e6 at some point somehow to get the rook in and threaten the bishop and the knight. I don't know if that is a move that you can do at some point.
E6 is definitely very interesting. I still feel like bishop f4 just makes a ton of sense. Awonder lashing out with g4, weakening the king side. But maybe king safety is not his top priority. We do see bishop f4 now, a move that perhaps could have been played earlier, but maybe he didn't want to allow this trade on f3. But
is
now
this
we
a
have
free
the
pawn?
bishop. Well, after the trade of the bishops, the rook opens up on his bishop. So we see the bishop tucked back, and now when the knight moves, that defends the d pawn. Here we have en passant or knight takes. I feel like knight takes looks pretty good.
But what I
what's
was
the
wondering,
problem? I guess this pawn falls.
what I was wondering, Joe, before when the bishop was on f4, if you go knight takes d4 and rook takes f4, then you have knight takes c6. The knight was hanging too, and if you take back with the queen, then you're defending the bishop. So I was wondering if this was just a free pawn.
Yeah, that actually is the top recommendation. So you probably saw a move better than Awonder did. Maybe we should sub you in for Chicago, Anna.
Thanks, Joe. I don't think I can sub him for Awonder, though. He is a million times better than me, but yeah.
Listen, he lost to one Anna. Maybe he's going to lose to a second one.
Maybe I should send him a challenge after this is over and just, for the Annas, just try to get the double wins.
Yeah, that'd be. He probably would take you up on that. So there is another match after this match, though, Anna. So you can't leave us too soon.
I will not leave you. We have a fantastic match to watch after too, which all of you, by the way, should stay to watch. It's going to be really fun. We're going to be seeing Missouri take on St. Louis. So that's really going to be an exciting match. But anyways, knight d2. I mean, this is looking quite passive for white. I feel like the knight on b1 kind of has to stay on b1 to prevent knight c3. What do you really do as white? How do you continue the development?
Probably this knight will have to move. You mentioned knight c3. I don't really know. We would just have to. Anna, these are tough questions, and I'm gonna leave Awonder to figure them out.
Yeah, I agree with you. Rook d8 is now played. I think black has almost all the time in the world. I mean, the only thing that I'm seeing is, maybe trying to get a knight up to e4, but the problem then is that the e5 pawn is hanging, so that's why I think we see Awonder playing f4 to maybe prepare to play knight e4 and then develop the other knight in that way. So c3 now. I think we're going to see knight e4 very soon and knight b2.
Man, this is just a claustrophobic position. Black has connect 4 all the way into d3.
Wow.
Connected pass pawn, and here we have a piece sacrifice. Knight into d4, and just black's trying to open up against the king.
And the idea is that if pawn takes knight, you have queen takes check, and then you win the rook on a1. It's a fork with the check and the rook. So, but this is really a fork now, actually. Knight c2, forking the 2 rooks, and Awonder is ready to give up one of the exchanges here.
Yeah, it's not so much that he's ready to give it up. I think he's just forced to. So Grigoriy Cantor, he's walking in all over Awonder's house, bringing in the pawns, bringing in the knights, forking the rooks, taking on c3, and again, queen d4 is the fork that you mentioned. Grigoriy's not even taking the rooks because why would you? They're forked. So, okay. Here now, interestingly, taking the knight, it's better to win a piece than an exchange, right? So that's exactly what Grigoriy has done. But now his knight's pinned, and we see the trade because it comes with check now, even though that was a pin. So now the queen can come back. And yeah, now you have two connected pass pawns that are just going to steamroll White's position. Rook d1, but Grigoriy going to convert this, definitely.
I think so too. I mean, the problem is not just that Black is up on exchange. The problem here are those pawns. Those pawns are a chess player's biggest nightmare, if I can tell you that. You see those pawns coming at you and you just realize that you have a lot of problems. And actually here, we see a resignation.
Yeah, so Awonder now starting 0 for 2.
Yeah. And that's not good for Chicago's top player. I mean, this is their board one. So definitely Awonder will probably, wonder if what changes it should do for the next 2 rounds. Maybe the knight opening isn't working the way you wanted it to this time. We will see what happens. But fantastic game there by Grigoriy Cantor. And we're going to be checking out also, we have some more games that are going on. We've only really been looking at one. So we have a few more games. I'm seeing here Anna, who's playing against Kapil. So it's going to be interesting to see how that game is going as well.
Yeah, we don't have the cameras right just yet, but we're working on it. But I see someone's asking, why is Awonder doing this? And honestly, I've been watching Awonder play for quite some time, and the best answer I can come up with is Awonder is a wonder. And there's really no saying. He's just going to do Awonder things, and that's what we're witnessing. So I don't think it's a protest. I think this is just how Awonder likes to play and have fun. And we've definitely seen Awonder definitely try his best and compete at his usual top level. So yeah, you never know what you're going to get with him. And that's what makes it so exciting.
It does make it very exciting. And yeah, I know now what you mean, Joe. When you were saying that we saw bond clouds, etc., I didn't really think that this was what we were going to see, but that is exactly what we're going to see. So you prepared us for this. Have you ever seen Awonder like playing regular openings?
Yes, we've seen Awonder.
Okay, I'm wondering.
Definitely play some time. I mean, Awonder has played at like U.S. Championship, right? Like, he's one of the best players in the league, like I said. So, what's interesting is of the U.S. schools in Division One, University of Chicago is the only school that is not a scholarship team. So these players, they are at U Chicago first and foremost as students, as people that are obviously studying, and not to say that the other players aren't, but we haven't seen them on broadcast because they've been so busy, and maybe chess isn't their top priority, right? So it's different for everyone, even within the same team. And like I said earlier, Praveen isn't playing today. I think he's traveling on the road, so I'm not sure where or what he's doing. But every player has different priority, and in the CCL, we play on the weekends, which I know a lot of players, they reserve that kind of date and time for other activities and other things. So at the end of the day, I'm just really appreciative that the players are taking their time on a weekend to compete. And it's tough to do throughout the whole course of a regular season, right? This has been 7 Saturdays consecutively. And big shout out to my co-commentator as well, Anna, who's been here along with us for the ride. And of course, to all the viewers that are tuning in. So even if the U Chicago team is losing right now, I still think that they have more to give. And they also have playoffs, assuming UTRGV can beat Athens tomorrow, which I think they're definitely the favorite.
And then we will see Chicago in the playoffs. So I am absolutely with you, Joe. Thank you also, you, Joe, for having been here every Saturday. It's both of us. And once again, to all the viewers, It's been so fun. This is my first time commentating the CCL, but it's been so fun to do this, and especially with you, Joe, and with everybody tuning in. So it's been super exciting. And speaking of exciting, look at that eval bar. Kapil. Wow, what is happening here?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I thought the idea was to take on h5 with check, but instead taking the a pawn and going for a trade. And we see this Eva bar just dancing. Anna's just super low on time, but White's gonna pick up another pawn and get a pass pawn.
So
So
hard to
life is
play
pretty good
real
here.
time. Yeah. Like, yeah, so difficult. Rook CH, she has 2 seconds.
Yeah, there is increment, but I think like Queen B7 looks pretty good to me. Maybe Rook C7 looks pretty good to me, although I guess there was maybe Rook A6. But all right, Anna resigns here. No time, not a good position. And Kapil, he's starting off 2 for 2.
2 for 2 Kapil. That deserves a clap, I feel like. But yeah, that is amazing. Kapil is really starting off so strong. Just beat Anna, fantastic player. So definitely an amazing start for Kapil, who's right now being the point maker for Chicago.
Yeah, he's definitely shown up to play here, and he's done a good job taking down the bottom 2 boards from Webster. So you could imagine, like, if he was a board 3 player, like the Chicago team can definitely do damage to even the best teams in the league. But Webster, they definitely have a commanding lead right now. But we have an update. Cole Moses, the 4th board from Chicago, has joined us. So they're back to full strength. That might be just what they need to turn things around here in the second half. How do you feel, Anna?
I think that with a full team, we might see new things happening. So I'm excited to see what Cole brings to the team. We have here the scores for round number 2, and we can see that the only point taker for Chicago was Kapil. So definitely something will need to change in the next rounds. But we have 2 rounds to go. Anything can happen. Webster hasn't officially won yet. So let's see if Chicago is able to make a comeback. And before that, though, follow the Collegiate Chess League on X, Instagram, and Discord to stay connected to all things college chess. From podcast updates to match recap reels, the CCL socials will keep you covered on your favorite players, teams, and rising stars. This break would be a great time to do all of that. We will be right back.
Ever since the chess engine Deep Blue defeated world champion Garry Kasparov in 1997, computers have been better at chess than even the best humans. Today, the margin isn't even close. Top engines play near-perfect chess, and playing against them is basically futile. But every now and again, there's a chess puzzle that stumps the engines, and us humans can solve it faster. Let's take a look at our first puzzle. So when we initially look here, the engine, as you can see, still thinks it's a draw. But if left for long enough, eventually it might find the mate in 8 sequence. So let's look at the first most intuitive sacrifice, maybe bishop f7. But then after the king takes back, queen follows up with queen h5, king g7. There's no real follow-up. There's no continued attack for white. So if we go back to the initial position, let's try that. Well, I already gave it away. Let's try that in a different move order, where instead of the bishop coming in first, we sacrifice the queen. As humans, of course, we love to sacrifice our queen. It just feels so good. And the king takes, and now we do the bishop check, and you'll see that this critical g6 square is cut off. So the best try for black is to go down here to king h8, and then we have a very quiet but deadly move. So we can bring in knight d2. Not attacking right away, but it's preparing knight f3, which, as you can see, would lead to checkmate. What black can do is try to delay this, maybe by pinning. We can just push here, takes, and now black can only delay the inevitable. They can try f4 here to try to give themselves an escape square, but we just go knight f3 all the same, king g4, and now we have the pièce de résistance, a quiet, subtle e4. Now they have no more moves. No matter what black plays, we have checkmate on the next move. Ooh, how satisfying is that? The fourth cycle of the Variants Community Series is the most explosive variant yet, Atomic Chess, where every capture on the board triggers a fatal explosion for the pieces around it. 6 weekly arena tournaments, held every Thursday, will be followed by a championship event with cash prizes, including a $1,000 first place prize. The third and final weekly arenas will be streamer arenas, featuring gifted subs as prizes. Win any of these events to qualify for the championship and show the world what you've got. Join the Variants Club today to learn more about upcoming events, how to participate, and much, much more. See you in the arena on Chess.com. 1 pawn. 5 suspects. Bring your deductive skills to the chessboard this March and help solve the mystery. Was it the movie star, Tina Tempo? The heiress, Beatrice Bishop? The Green Pawn's coach, Remy Rook? Tournament organizer, Madame Mate, perhaps? Or the arbiter, Professor Passon? Play them all, gather the clues, and find out who done it on Chess.com.
I'd classify trading as a game, really, that you're playing with competitors and basically every market participant in the world. My path, I came in as a poker player, but I think that the main thing that everybody has in common is a sense of competitiveness and interest in gaming and strategy in general. Yes, you can actually use gaming skills for your career and for something to do on a day-to-day basis.
spring season presented by SIG. Right now, you're watching Webster versus Chicago, but coming up, we have St. Louis versus Missouri, so be sure to stick around. Now, Joe, we have Cole here, who's finally joined us. He didn't show up for the first 2 games, so we finally have him here for round 3 and 4, and he is playing from his bed, it seems like. What is happening here? We've seen people in cars, now we've seen people in beds.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, he's comfortable, so maybe even a little too comfortable. We saw he was perhaps a little late to the first round to start, but his teammates were able to get a hold of him and maybe wake him up from his early beauty sleep. So we're happy that he's joined us and comfortable.
That is the most important part, that now finally Chicago has a full team, and we can see now all the players getting ready. Well, all the players apart from Benjamin, but he just joined out there too. So they are very much ready to go for round 3. And this is going to be a very important round for Chicago because they're right now losing 6-2. So they really need to make a comeback. Do you see Chicago having chances for that, Joe?
Honestly, Anna, I don't think they're going to come back. I think Webster has a great chance to win it, even with a round to spare. But I think more important is that the players are having fun and playing from their bed. You know, it's you never know what you're gonna see. So I'm actually still excited to see Awonder play some of his new openings. We're witnessing perhaps new theory, although probably Awonder's been used to these. But as you saw, he's playing against Harsha Bharadkati, so that's a big one. And I don't know if we're gonna see Awonder play Awonder style or if we're gonna see him play okay, let's see, his knight's coming. Nope, it's back to his usual antics. Yeah.
Wow. No, it's not. Oh yeah, it is. Yep. But just a little bit. Now he's playing G3, so he's actually pretty quickly playing something else. We're not fully seeing the whole knight situation, but I feel like Harsha just immediately wants to challenge that and goes H5, Bishop C5, and kind of says, I wonder, what are you doing?
We're all wondering it. Well, we see White has played 3 moves, whereas Black has 5. So, typically with the white pieces, you go first and you have that advantage. But I wonder, maybe he's using that extra time to, I don't know, assert dominance over his knowledge of the opening. I'm not sure, Anna. What's your hypothesis?
I mean, I'm just excited to see because Awonder has played against a little bit of lower rated people in the past 2 rounds. But now he's playing against Harsha, a 2,900 player who's just played fantastic. He's one of the biggest names so far because of how well he's played. So I'm really wondering how Harsha is going to challenge this opening. I think that is what I'm most excited about. But we see him still playing with confidence. I like that Awonder is still going for his thing, even after having lost the first 2 rounds. So only time will tell what happens in this game.
Yeah, and you can tell that Harsha is a stronger player because Awonder is definitely showing a sign of respect by only moving the knight twice instead of 5 or 6 or 7 times like he did in the first round. So, okay, this knight, Harsha's actually making him go backwards, playing to Awonder's favor perhaps, but knight's probably going to go to D2 now.
Knight is going to go to D2, then maybe knight C4. Another idea could be at some point to capture an F6 and then play knight E4. So a lot of different ideas. I actually don't hate this for Awonder. It looks like a pretty normal opening. Pretty easy to get your pieces out. Knight D2, knight F3, castles. I think that this could be one of the more normal games that we've seen him play so far. So I'm excited about that, but maybe we should check out one of the other games. I am curious to see how Cole Moses is doing from his bed versus Grigoriy Cantor.
That's a great point, and he's like all tucked in. He looks so comfy.
He does look
I honestly, I feel bad we interrupted his Saturday morning with this chess match.
Yeah, because it is pretty early, I suppose, for you. I mean, I am sitting here at 9 p.m. here.
So pretty early for Cole Moza, assuming he's in Chicago. That would be about 1 p.m. Getting close to 2 p.m. for him now. So I know, Anna, you might sleep until 2 p.m. Is that early for most of us in chat, or what do you guys think?
Joe, you don't have to tell everybody that I woke up today at 2 p.m. You don't have to mention that to all the people watching this broadcast, you know? But a little bit of beauty sleep doesn't hurt. I think we should all prioritize rest.
And I was speculating. I didn't know. So you're telling us you did sleep until 2?
I'm just saying, if it would have been because I prioritize resting. It's important to rest as a human being,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
See, luckily, if Anna was in the US, I don't know if she would wake up in time for these matches at 1 p.m., 2 p.m.
Oh,
So
I
we're
am happy
lucky
to be in
you're
Sweden.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, if Anna could, I'm sure she would swap places with not only she wanted to play as board 4, but I think she would also take the spot in bed as well and get some more sleep.
I would not. I am very awake right now. No. And you know what I would definitely do? I would probably not take his position because it's looking a little bit tough right now. I'm thinking though, how is this material wise?
Well, the problem is White just grabbed a very important pawn, and all of
Yeah.
these pieces are just hanging out. So right now, the rook is almost trapped, but we're going to see perhaps a trade. Yeah, or maybe even probably not a pawn push. I'm not sure. I don't know what Cole plays here, but he's down on the board and he's down in time. He plays the rook to a7.
Yeah, threatening the knight.
Yes. So we see this trade here first, and now Black has a choice of which piece to take.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's going to take with the rook. It makes a little bit of not sense to capture with the king, as the king would be quite weak on f8. And now we just see a defense. So queen d2, defending that knight. And maybe we'll see, like you're pointing out, c4. But yeah, that rook is not looking great, but also the knight on b8 just doesn't have a lot of squares to get out to.
Yeah, c4 is played, and that's the reason why the knight couldn't retreat. Although technically, I guess you could have had the rook trade. So that would have been interesting. Queen d2, nonetheless. Now the bishop comes all the way back to f1. Just a very solid position here. White has 2 center pawns. Black has 0 center pawns. And as you mentioned, the knight on b8 is very much behind. So at any point, White could just continue expanding in the center. The queen can come up with certain attacks once maybe the knight, maybe b4, but you give a connected passer. So even though the eval bar is loving White, it's not quite so clear just yet. I don't see any like devastating tactics. It's just a better position, and I think up a pawn as well. So yeah, maybe we look back at some of the other games.
Yes, I wanted to look at Capil because he is the only 2 out of 2 for Chicago. So I'm wondering, what can he do against Webster's #1 today, Benjamin Gledura? Very strong grandmaster, but Capil has played some fantastic chess. And honestly, his position is not really looking too bad. It does look, no, is it equal material? No, he is, yeah, it's equal pawns, right?
It is even. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
the pawns are separated for White on the king side, but the D pawn is isolated for Black. It's opposite side castles, which is pretty exciting. White's got both rooks in the center, which is obviously always pretty nice to have. So position likes Black slightly, probably because I'm wondering if like Black could just take this pawn, but we would take the queen probably and double isolate the f pawns. So I'm not sure.
And now actually he's defending the pawn on h3 by going rook d3, as if rook takes h3, you trade queens, and then you have this move bishop e5 check, which is an intermediate move, an intermediate check that would lose the rook for Black, as that rook on d3 would be able to capture it. So I quite like this move, rook d3. It's also very flexible. And typically, against an isolated pawn like the one we see on d4, you want to double up your rooks to really make sure that the pawn can never advance. I really like this move, rook d3. We might see rook d1. And yeah, even though Deval Bar was slightly preferring black, I think that this game is very dynamic. Anything can happen here, I think. So,
yeah. I agree. I think we should take a look back at Awonder's position and see how that's changed, because it actually looks like he is now the favorite, and Harsha, who we were saying went 3.5 against the SLU team, only drawing against Bok. He's now down to 15 seconds here, and Awonder is looking to get on the board for the first time.
Wow. I honestly have no words. We saw the opening that Awonder did, and the fact that he now has 3 minutes more than his opponent, and he has a better position is outstanding to me. So let's see how that happened.
Yeah, so we saw the knight go back and forth at least 3 times.
We did.
And you weren't sure maybe why he was doing this against Anna or Grigoriy Cantor in round 2, but you see it's working marvelously here against Harsha. So Awonder up to his usual tricks, not even castling.
Didn't even bother to castle.
Yes, and yet his position here is just better. And look at his clock.
Yeah. I mean, the thing here is that his king is so active, but the important part is that he has this A-pawn that is just so strong. So now this is a very nice move. He goes rook e2, the idea being that if bishop takes a5, you actually go rook a2, and then you pin that bishop, and there's just no way to save it. So actually, as long as you're staying on that second file, black cannot take that pawn. And now we see the rook coming in and picking up all pawns. It's all just free to take at this point. And now he's going to take that d5 pawn after the king gets even further away. And now all pawns are weak. What?
Wow. Apparently this is a draw, but Harsha resigned. Oh my goodness. An early resigner. Awonder blocking, trying to hold on to this pawn. Interestingly, allowing the rook trade, and the bishop will come in. Probably what he missed. Probably Harsha was assuming king e4 or something because the bishop's hanging. I'm not sure. Wow. Awonder getting perhaps a lucky one, but showing his openings do work against the top level.
But that is crazy, because now after rook takes rook, king takes rook, there's bishop e1, and the f2 pawn is hanging. But not only that, if you move the f2 pawn, the g3 pawn is hanging, and then the h4 pawn is hanging. So all of a sudden, you could lose those pawns, and then black could get some counterplay with the h pawn. And this, could very much be a draw. So that is where we see that sometimes those early resignations are not that good. You should fight all the way. And I wonder if Harsha is now realizing it.
Well, if he's reviewing it, he should certainly see it. I think he resigned definitely. I don't think he was anticipating rook f5 block. I think he thought king e4 was going to be the move. But let's check in with Anna and see how she's doing against Miles Brown.
We also already have another result. Grigoriy Cantor beats Cole Moses, who was playing from his bed. So that game has finished as well. And, well, we now both see Chicago and Webster getting a point this round so far. So let's check in on Anna.
Yeah, and we see the position's actually fairly even. Anna has a bishop versus a knight, but is down a pawn. But it is an isolated pawn. So Miles Brown, he could get a big upset point here for his team.
Absolutely, he is a pawn up. I am seeing that g2 pawn being a very big weakness, and the question is, how do you really defend it? If you go knight h4, then there's g5 perhaps. So maybe knight e1 is what you have to play, but then, I mean, this does look like a very passive move. Or you don't defend it at all. You just attack, counterattack.
Yeah, giving it up with a check is unfortunate. So knight e1 was the move. Obviously, the knight can get kicked away, but the bishop... Oh my god, black doesn't take with check. Instead, they go for this, and that's just a huge fork.
That is just the blunder. That is just the full-on piece.
Oh my goodness. Miles Brown had a great opportunity here, and then I don't know, maybe second guessing himself, trying to go for something, just completely forgot the threat, knight d4, going for that counterplay, like you said. But it wasn't working because of you able to take on g2 with a check. So yeah, and now Black's entire position is just completely falling apart.
Completely falling apart. That one move blunder. He had to take that pawn. He wanted to do something maybe a little bit, or what he thought was a little bit nicer of threatening several pieces on the same file, but it just tactically didn't work. And now bishop down, 2 pawns down. It is completely resignable. So wow, that was shocking. And then there we go.
So Anna getting some big points here, and it looks like we have the round is done. So after 3 rounds, are the scores updated? Let's see. I think we're waiting on one more result. But Webster's very close to winning if they haven't already won it. But Awonder, he gets on the board. Kapil gets a draw. Okay, against
Nice result.
Yeah. So ultimately, yeah, Miles and Cole both losing, and I think that's going to be the score to do it for Webster.
8.5 points is the score that Webster needs to win, and it seems as that is what they've gone. So, has Webster already won this match? Yes, but Chicago is going to try to get as many points as possible. Yeah, so that they can at least add some extra points there, and get a little bit more chances of making the playoffs. That's still going to be important for Chicago, and I feel like now they're finally coming in. The first 2 rounds seemed a lot more rough, but here finally they were able to score some points, especially with Awonder finally scoring. And if they would have beaten Anna, that would have been 2.5 points for Chicago.
Yeah, you definitely said it. Chicago looking to get some more points in this 4th round, so the match isn't quite over yet, but Webster gets the win, and with that, they guarantee themselves a top 2 spot. So that puts them into the semifinals immediately in the playoff bracket, which is fantastic for them. This is their CCL debut, and really you can't ask for more other than a top 2 spot going into playoffs. So congrats to the Webster team, and they're going to wait to see who they're going to play in the semifinals, but they've guaranteed themselves a bye week in the quarterfinals, which is next weekend, Anna.
That is very nice for Webster. Once again, congratulations to Webster. Next weekend, Joe, I will not be here, and I am so sad about that. But so I'll be joining Webster in the bye. But yeah, very, very excited to see what happens in the first week of playoff.
Anna, what are you doing next week?
I am competing in chess myself. I couldn't join in for Chicago today, but I'll be playing a tournament. I'll be playing Reykjavik Open, which is my first tournament in a little while. So I'm very excited to play some classical chess again.
Wow, well, good luck. And looks like we have the final games are now being played in round 4. We have Awonder versus Benjamin Gladura. And Awonder, I see, hasn't had any developments. Maybe we do a slow motion replay of his opening.
Can I just wonder, what is happening with Cole and his phone? What is he trying to show with his phone?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. But yeah, we have, again, the classical Awonder opening. Both knights out and both knights retreating. So, all right. How do you think he had an upset win, or maybe not an upset win, just the win against Harsha last round? Do you think he can do it again against Benjamin Gladura? He's committed. He's done all 4 rounds just like this. We were speculating whether or not he would change it up, but no, he's gone all the way from board 1 through board 4, and he's gotten a point so far. So can he make it 2 out of 4?
I feel like he's playing better against the stronger opponents, beating Harsha. And now he's playing Benjamin Gladura. I have no idea. You would think that someone as strong as Benjamin Gladura would be able to challenge these openings even better. But I don't know. Maybe the fact that Awonder is only going back and forth with his knight twice instead of 5-6 times is what's making the difference here. So we'll see what happens. But so far, it's actually looking like a very normal position. Black is just maybe a couple tempos down, but looking like a very standard position. So I think that here we could see a normal chess game, which I feel like is crazy to say with Awonder being one of the players. But h6 now kind of preventing knight g5, bishop g5. And I think now the idea is going to be for black at some point to go rook e8 and then try to go for the e5 break if they can in the center.
Yeah, you nailed it, Anna. This is really deep thought. I am like just wondering if maybe when we watch Awonder next week without you, if you'll continue playing with the season on the line. This is it's worked out from the last game, but there's actually like prize money on the line. I don't know if you know this, Anna. The Collegiate Chess League has $25,000 in prizes every semester. So this semester, again, we have 25,000, and the money goes to the top 4 in each division, at least for the top 14 divisions. But that means because Webster clinched the top 2 spot and they're making it to the semifinals, they've won themselves some $500 cash at a minimum, with a chance to win more. First place is $5,000. So next week, if Chicago still holds on to their playoff spot, when they play in the quarterfinals, there's actual money on the line. So do you think Awonder would stick to his openings here? Or do you think maybe his teammates will convince him that, hey, maybe some money would do our club some favors? So they might try to, I don't know, play a little stronger.
I think that Awonder is Awonder, and if this is the way he plays chess, I don't think that anybody's going to stop him. But it's going to be very exciting to see. Now, I actually just got information that the reason Cole was on his phone was because he is actually playing on his phone and he's using his camera for fair play purposes. So he's actually right now playing on his phone. So that is the reason for him being there. I was a little bit confused about why he was looking at a phone screen, but that is the reason. He's playing on his phone, which I feel like is so much more difficult than playing on a computer. Don't you think so?
Oh, for sure. Like, I guess we got to tune in now and see. He's playing against Anna, and we see he's playing on his phone.
Yeah, he is. And
from the bed.
I don't think I've ever seen a tournament game being played from the bed on a phone. This is like the record, Joe.
Yeah, it's a shame that we're watching Chicago play for the first time in the last week. But yeah, I hope that they hold on to their playoff spot, because if we see more of this next week, I mean, that's going to be just another reason to tune in. Who knows what these Chicago players are doing?
Who knows what they're up to? But here we see the position. Anna just seemed to have gotten a really nice position. Wow. So we're seeing the queen is hanging, but I am just wondering, there looks like with the rook pointing at the king, with the queen over there, it just feels like there must be something. And I like how much Cole is really showing the position on his phone. He's really saying, wow, look
There's
at that
the
move. Wow. Bishop takes d4 check. If pawn takes, rook takes c1. Rook takes, and then queen takes c1. That queen is pointing towards it. And if king h1, I guess the queen just moves in the same diagonal, and you can still not capture the bishop because the rook is still hanging.
Yeah, no, this is a fantastic tactic from Anna, and she's going for a queen trade here. Really, really nice tactic. And Cole, unfortunately, from his bed, from his phone, unable to see it. The screen's a little bit smaller, so probably a bit harder to see these tactics. And you see Anna, she's fully focused. She's leaning forward. She's seeing everything.
She is. Nobody can stop her. She's so focused. I would say that Cole right now looks a bit surprised and shocked. And he probably didn't see this move coming. So fantastic play by Anna, who also has so much more time. She's almost 2 minutes up. This is definitely, I think, going to be a win for Anna.
Yeah, we see the queen trade declined, but I'm just really worried about our king here on h1, and probably the rook is going to join in on the h file at some point.
Yeah.
And the knight's actually very short on squares. So white probably just trying to go for a counterattack, but that rook can just join the attack on the g file.
Yeah. I think after something like rook g5 looks quite good, or even rook h6, I don't know where that knight is going. So let's maybe move on to another game as well. I am wondering how it's going for Kapil versus Harsha. Kapil being the best scorer for Chicago. He's on 2.5 points right now, having beaten, having won 2 games and then drawn against number one, Benjamin Gladura. So I'm very excited to see what happens over here. Looking like quite a balanced position with that bishop on a1. Look at that, looking towards the whole board.
Yeah, bishop on a1. I think Awonder had something like this, but there was a pawn on c3 maybe, or maybe it was like h8 and f6. But same point, right? Here, this bishop has the view, so that's a great bishop. Whereas in the other game we saw, there was a pawn completely blocking that bishop with no move. So bishops like to be on the long diagonals as long as the position is open, right? And this is an open position. Lots of room for the pawn breaks and pawns advancing forward. And here we see black is just trying to neutralize Harsha's bishop on a1. So Kapil, he's a strong player. He's 2.5 out of 3, looking to have an undefeated score against a very strong Webster team, which would be a very impressive result, especially considering, again, Kapil is supposed to be a board 3, so not even a top 2 on his team. And we see this trade, and now I'm wondering, well, I guess our knight's pinned, so we can't win the d pawn, unfortunately. But maybe the king steps up or something.
Yeah, that d5 pawn is actually looking pretty weak, and you want to play, I think, d4 as black at some point, but you cannot do that with the knight on e4. So Harsha, also one of the, fantastic players that we've seen, played fantastically versus SLU last week. I think it's very exciting, but Kapil, I think is the star of Chicago today. He's really been the point taker for Chicago. So very impressive play by him. And look at that time difference, 3 minutes versus 20 seconds.
Yeah, Harsha not playing as the same caliber as we were used to from last week. And yeah, I think that Webster, they're going to be proud to get the win in the match nonetheless, because, like I said, they're guaranteed a spot in the semifinals. So they're going to take next week off as a bye week. They've earned it. They're going to take some rest, and Harsh is going to come back, hopefully well rested and able to take on anyone like we saw he did against SLU last week.
Exactly. And he actually played your move, Joe. King g2. And so now we're seeing knight g5 threatening the queen. The queen goes up to g4. Looking at that rook on c8 threatening d5, because if the rook goes from d8, then the protection on c8 will be gone, and then queen takes c8 could happen. So how do you defend that d5 pawn now is my question.
Well, Kapil answered your question by playing king or queen to e5. The computer did not like that move at all. It wanted the knight back to e4, which would pin the knight to f2 instead here. And now your idea knight takes d5 still works.
Yeah.
Because that rook is still there. So instead we saw h4, queen gives a check.
Wow.
And now the only winning move is f3, which is played. And now you have 2 pieces hanging, Anna.
2 pieces are hanging. You cannot protect both. I really wonder what Kapil was thinking to do against f3. Maybe he just missed the move f3 and just thought that it was completely winning. But he has so much more time. He didn't have to make that decision there.
Yeah, really unfortunate. He missed the taking on d5 tactic. The queen looked like it was defending, but the queen can't take first because it was defended by the knight. So if rook takes, we saw that same tactic. And now Kapil's down a piece.
This is looking like it's completely lost for Kapil. Harsha only has 13 seconds, but I know that a player of Harsha's caliber definitely can win this game, even with 13 seconds on the clock, as there's increment. So, yeah, very unfortunate for Kapil to have made that mistake. We also see that on board 1, Benjamin Gladura and Awonder actually drew. So Awonder had a very good second half of this this match.
Yeah, you guys, Awonder winning against Harsha, drawing against Benjamin Gladura, giving like a couple moves as odds. Imagine how strong he is if he tried. No, I mean, maybe he is trying. I bet Awonder has just another level, and I hope to see it next week in playoffs.
I agree. I hope to see it too then. Let's maybe look at some of the final games that we have right now. We see once again Cole from the bed on his phone playing against Anna Sargsyan, who looked like she was having a completely crushing position, and she still does. rook h3, queen g5, now queen g6, sorry, threatening now rook takes g2, rook g1. That all of white's pieces are just so stuck defending, I feel like, at this moment.
Yeah, and looking for a queen trade, just simplifying, and that'll help make the job easier. So Cole says, no thanks, I'll leave the queens on the board. And we do have Grigoriy Cantor winning his last game against Miles Brown. So yeah, those were the board threes. So this is the last game of the match. And yeah, that's a check. I guess the queen's attacking this. Maybe we get the a pawn and the a pawn becomes passed. If this pawn pushes, by the way, there's some chances here left for Cole.
No, there are. Yeah, f6 would be a terrible mistake. But yeah, I don't see her doing something like that. She's playing very solid. Going back, queen c7, trying to trade queens, saying, I am 3 pawns up. If I just don't get checkmated, I'm winning. And that is exactly how it is. So she's playing very safe right now.
Yeah, and Cole's very low on time, too, under 15 seconds.
On his phone, which I think is harder to play on his phone. And he's kind of moving around now.
Yeah, he's getting he's sitting up now. He's less comfortable. He was leaning back earlier. So he's like, all right, I have less than 20 seconds. Time to dial in now.
Yeah, now I really need to go for bullet on my phone. So he's getting the bullet position. You see that H pawn running up the board. I think H3 could even be an idea at some point. However, rook G6 also looks very solid. And now she's trying to trade queens again. Look at that. She's playing so fast. She grabs another pawn. 4 pawns now.
Yeah, really nice. If you're not going to trade queens, it's going to cost you some pawns. So this queen just coming in, just pestering constantly, picking up pawns, threatening trades. And there we have it, a sacrifice on G2 because the queen takes on F3 and that's a pin. And now all you have to do is just simplify. You can trade off everything and voila, we have resignation. So congrats to Anna for getting a nice win here in the final round, adding on to Webster's score, making sure that they're going to even potentially leapfrog SLU in the standings, depending on how they do in their match against Mizzou after this.
Yeah, this was a fantastic match by Webster. 12-4 is the final score. And I mean, honestly, I thought that maybe Chicago would score a few more points, but we know how strong Webster is, and that is why they are at the top. And once again, huge congratulations to Webster for qualifying and getting in that top 2 position. So we will see if they're even able to pass SLU. That's going to be very interesting. But what did you think about the match, Joe? Did it go the way you expected?
Honestly, Awonder's play kind of did go as expected. I mentioned Bond clouding in the past, and he definitely delivered in the entertainment factor there. I was not expecting Cole to show up late from his bed playing from his phone, so that was definitely a fun thing to tune in for. But I'm excited to see Chicago in the playoffs. Hopefully they get Praveen Balakrishnan back. I think that would make them very competitive and maybe even one of the underdogs in the playoff bracket.
Yeah, so we will see if they make the playoffs. That's going to be very exciting to follow. Get ready for the latest installment of Blitz Champs, Blitz Champs Maryland. March 13th, 8 Terps will cast aside their bonds of red and gold and compete for the sole title of Maryland Blitz Champ. Who will prove to be the strongest chess player and emerge with the crown? Tune in next Wednesday to find out and use !UMD in chat to read up on players, stakes, and more. We have more Blitz of our own coming up. SLU versus Missouri are just moments away. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon.
Welcome everyone to the first ever Chess.com holiday party. We're here with the 7 of the Champions Chess Tour finalists. One of them is not here, but lucky for us, as Santa, I already knew that one of the gifts might come in real handy. So what we've got here is a gift that keeps on giving for some lucky lady out there, right there. We're gonna put Magnus right here in between Maxine and Hikaru. But let me explain the rules real quick. We have 8 numbers in here. Everyone here is gonna pick a number to decide the order in which they go to choose the presents in front. The present can be stolen. If you like what someone else gets, you don't even have to pick a present. You can just steal their present from them. But once a present has been stolen twice, it is officially frozen. You can never steal that present again. At the end of the game, whichever one of you gets the number 1 gets to choose whether to keep your present or make one final steal to get the gift you want. So I'm gonna go around here. I'm going to take the last number. A lot like our fair play, you know, judge, jury, and executioner over here, right? Hey, there you go, insert joke. Who's number 1? Okay, Maxime Bachier-Legrand starts us off. Let's do it.
I guess this form, I guess.
Look at that. I know what you guys thought. You guys thought you were showing up and every gift was gonna be a joke.
No, it's not.
That's a Nintendo Switch.
Maxime plays that every day.
I'm number 2.
Okay.
I have the best number. The worst number.
Worst number.
Oh, is that worse than 8?
Oh, 8 is the second best.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because 8 you get to have all the information.
Oh,
no choice.
thank you.
I got a box.
Okay. What's in the box?
I have a smaller box. I got AirPods.
Wow.
Oh, sweeter.
Every white elephant has to have an ugly Christmas sweater, and you're the one who got it. Okay. All right, who's 4? Okay.
You can cook the night.
That's it. What is this? Dennis, here we go. Okay.
Is that magnet?
Collectible. Show it to the camera. The proud owner. All right, Hikaru is shaking. Shaking big, or is he stealing?
Who did that?
Danny.
That was not my idea. All right, so I'm gonna use this one here. Certificate of Disposition and Proclamation, Lord of the Bong Cloud opening. Okay, I'm a Lord of the Bong Cloud.
Okay,
Here we go, Wesley.
I'm gonna steal, yeah?
Yeah.
It's hard to choose. I'll steal Abby's AirPod.
Okay,
There we go.
that's fair. Okay, AirPods have been stolen. It's official, game on.
So we have to keep the game going, so I'm taking your...
All right. Okay, he's rolling the dice. He loves the niche that much. Okay, Dennis, you've been set free.
Oh, you got the Switch.
Okay, Dennis Lazovic officially owns the Switch.
Party in his room tonight.
I guess I'm taking
He's
these.
taking the AirPods are off the table, which means Wesley, you have the power to choose a new gift.
Oh my gosh.
What is
Are
it?
you kidding?
Oh, yeah.
You're paying, right?
Yeah, that's
You're
the
paying.
one.
Yeah, okay, good. I'll keep it.
Okay, there we go. That's it. And that, everyone, was our first ever white elephant.
I'd classify trading as a game really that you're playing with competitors and basically every market participant in the world. My path, I came in as a poker player, but I think that the main thing that everybody has in common is a sense of competitiveness and interest in gaming and strategy in general. Yes, you can actually use gaming skills for your career and for something to do on a day-to-day basis.
Welcome back to week 7 of the CCL spring season presented by SIG. SIG is so much more than a trading company. It's a company that enthusiastically endorses gaming too. It's a place where possessing a chess background, utilizing analytical and decision-making skills, and having a competitive nature only enables you to excel even further. Let's take a look.
My name is Ella Papanek, and I'm a quantitative sports trader here at SIG. I started playing chess when I was 8 years old. My brother taught me, and I grew up very close to Union Square Park in Washington Square Park in New York City, and so I used to go and play with the people there in the parks. Chess players are very good decision makers. They're constantly reasoning about the hypothetical paths that the game could take. They're also very good at thinking about what their opponent is thinking and integrating that into their decision-making process.
My name is Grigoriy Yang. I'm a macro analyst here at SIG. I discovered chess pretty much after watching Queen's Gambit. I was like, this is an awesome game. The strategy and the calculation is really what I think makes the game beautiful, where every time you're asking yourself that question of, hey, I'm making this move, and what possible moves might they do in response? And then zooming back out to yourself, I think is really like what makes chess a wonderful game.
In chess, you often face situations where you have to make decisions under time pressure, and so you're not going to be able to realistically assess all of the options, but you still have to think through what matters and what doesn't matter and make a decision off of that, which is a common thing that I have to do in trading.
I do use that reciprocal thinking on my day-to-day, where I'm asking myself that question of, hey, what are other people going to do in stock markets and other markets, etc. I need to be extremely cognizant of all of these other pieces on the metaphorical chessboard in order to distill that into one, hey, like this is the driving narrative, this is what's going to happen, and this is what's important for trading.
My name is Jonathan Sekenik, and I am on the trader education team here at SIG. So on the first one, right, it comes out of here, and if you want to do, are you doing the 6 case?
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time building curriculum and lecturing along with doing some interviews for our newer and prospective candidates. I am kind of giving them the rundown of the basics of both the business and options education, and I use both lecture format and board games to accomplish this. So you would remove one if you had one, but instead we just get points equal to the numbers in our hand. The idea of using board games kind of started off with how the company was founded, using poker and poker principles. I'm able to kind of form a plan of just using board games to allow people to experience a lot of different situations and help them express themselves and guide them through those sorts of processes. So instead of just keeping them in the option space to get them better at options, you can kind of work on very focused efforts if you choose the right board game. While as a part of the education process, we're using poker kind of as a tool for education, and also in terms of socialization, there's kind of one big opportunity every year for people to compete in a free poker tournament at SIG. Whether or not it's your first game of poker or you're a seasoned veteran, everyone has kind of an equal starting point, equal footing, but you see a lot of nice camaraderie. I participate in every year, both take my stab at those top prizes, along with getting to meet some coworkers that I wouldn't have met otherwise.
I think gaming is such an essential part of SIG culture because gamers are often people who have a sense of grit, who are passionate but also persistent, and they'll take the same thing over and over and over and iterate it over and over and over to get better and better.
Playing games, doing puzzles, doing math problems is all a very core part of the culture. So it felt very natural for me because that was something I had been thinking about throughout most of my life. And so it was cool to kind of meet a community of people where asking those questions was very natural and people wanted to reason through those kinds of things with me.
SIG is a fantastic opportunity, whether you're a gamer, whether you just have a lot of entrepreneurial spirit, as long as you are ready to be in an environment that kind of sees you for who you are, helps get you to the place you want to be, and really just care about your growth and development while having a great community, SIG is the place for you.
Do you wish playing a chess game with a friend was as easy as sending them a text? Well, good news. Now it is. With Chess.com's new iMessage app, you can start and play a game directly in iMessage. Your friend doesn't even need a Chess.com account. It's just tap and play. Head over to go.chess.com/iMessage or use the command iMessage in chat to learn more.
I'm here with Magnus Carlsen, world #1, and to many, greatest chess player of all time. We're going to ask him a few questions. I'm going to name a sport. You have to tell me the greatest of all time. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Basketball.
LeBron James.
Soccer.
Messi.
I agree with both. Baseball.
Barry Bonds.
What did he say? Okay. Football like American football.
Tom Brady, I guess.
Okay, yeah, good one. Tennis.
Djokovic.
Golf.
Tiger.
Fair. Poker.
Doug Brunson.
That's a unique one. Chess.
Garry Kasparov.
Are you allowed to say yourself?
I don't know if I'm allowed, but I think Gary's the best of all time still.
Chess boxing.
Aman Hamilton.
I agree. We're gonna play this or that. Would you rather go on a cruise or a road trip?
Road trip.
Comedy or thriller?
Comedy.
Coffee or tea?
Tea, but only slightly. Preferably neither.
How do you get energized?
The sun.
Cats or dogs?
Cats. But I like dogs too.
It's like this or that is a little bit tough with you. You like everything. Shower or bath?
Oh, shower for sure.
Okay.
I don't have the patience to take baths.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl for sure.
Would you rather get on a phone call or text message?
Text, probably.
I feel like the answer for you is neither. I feel like it's just...
Usually, yes.
just go. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Winter or summer?
Summer.
How many beers would it take for you to drink for me to beat you in a classical chess game?
That's a very difficult question, because I'd probably sober up during the game, so I'd probably have to keep drinking. Probably start with 20 and take it from there.
20, okay. What's the size of the cup?
Pints.
Wow, okay, 20. Name your price if you have to chess box.
$10 million.
Do you prefer to play chess on a computer, over the board, or on your phone?
I rarely play on my phone. I would say I prefer to play on the computer.
In your entire career, have you ever had a day where you went, I think this guy might be as good as me in chess?
No. Well, I mean, not you know, not the last 10 years for sure.
Okay. Has it ever been, this guy might be kind of close to me if I have a bad day?
Yeah, I would say Fabio at his best was very close in classical for sure.
My other question was going to be, who do you think is the second best chess player in the world? So, I suppose.
Yeah, I think Fabiano Caruana is the second best player. Yeah.
Thank you, Magnus, for sitting down with us and doing these rapid fire questions. Now get out of here.
Welcome back to week 7 of the CCL spring season presented by SIG. We're moments away from our second match of the day, SLU taking on Missouri. Joe, how excited are you for this match? St. Louis University, one of the best teams this season, taking on a very exciting team, Missouri.
I'm so excited for this, Anna. This is the last broadcasted match of the regular season. We're going to figure out who's going to get first, who's going to get second, who's going to even make the playoffs. Although there is one more match to be played tomorrow between UTRGV and Athens, which is going to be a really big one as well. But we just watched Webster leapfrog St. Louis for that top spot. St. Louis University needs a win of any kind to take the #1 seed in the playoff bracket. So Mizzou has a chance to perhaps spoil that for St. Louis, and that's going to be really important. And if Mizzou even wins and beats St. Louis University, then UTRGV would have an opportunity to take the top 2 spots. So SLU has a lot on the line here, and I hope to see that they'll bring their A game.
I was actually going to ask you if St. Louis should be scared of not making that top 2, because that would be huge. So St. Louis is really going to be giving it their best today. But one player that they need to be afraid of that Mizzou is going to be having is Mikhail Antipov. He has had a fantastic season. I mean, he has the highest season score. He's tied with the season win percentage, 75%. He's had an amazing amount of brilliancies. I mean, Joe, I've seen Antipov play, and every time it's like, wow. Last week, we saw him playing A4, right? It was an insane game.
Yeah, I don't think he actually started with A4, but A4 Rook A3 was his opening. And actually, I don't know if you were watching the team battle, but his coach, the Count, Christian Kurilla, he actually won with his teammate Fabi in the finals. And in the first game of their last match, Christian actually referenced that game that his student Antipov played, but Fabi asked him if he knew what to do next. He said no, so they turned it down. And I think that would have been a fantastic moment for Antipov to maybe give his coach a lesson in this A4 Rook A3 opening.
These are the board assignments. We can see all the players that St. Louis and Missouri are bringing on today. A lot of very familiar names. We've seen them throughout the season. Nicolas Benjamin Bok, a fan favorite, a streamer. We have Robert Kivlishvili coming back, Basurin as well. And then for Missouri, we have Oparin as their board number 1. Very strong player. Antipov, I mean, yeah, going to be so exciting to see how he plays. And actually here, we're seeing all the players getting ready right now. And I always find this so interesting, Joe, to see what backgrounds they have. I'm wondering, Robbie Kevlashvili, where is he?
That is actually a good question. It looks like some sort of lobby, maybe a hotel lobby. But I think Harsha and Luca, teammates from Mizzou, were just talking to each other, actually. I think they're playing from the same room, and Antipov might be there with him. But we see Oparin. He is no longer Okarin. He's left the car parking lot, and he's now back home at his apartment, I assume.
Yeah, we saw him playing from a car in a previous week. And we've seen so many backgrounds this season, but that is what happens when you have a long season, lots of different weekends. Players need to go to different places. They can't always be at home, and then we get new backgrounds. So the games have started, and can maybe take a look at that board number 1 with Theodoro versus Raja. I'm excited to see here SLU's number 1 versus Missouri's number 4. Probably the biggest rating difference that we're going to be seeing. And this is looking like a pretty common Rui Lopez.
Yes, a Rui from Raja. Raja's Rui, as we like to call it. We've seen some highlights from Raja, actually. Even some posts from their social media pages. He's had quite some tactics. A puzzle post from Chess.com's India social as well. And I actually saw the Mizzou team was congratulated by their school for winning the Pan Am tournament and competing in the Final Four, which is going to happen in, I want to say, like 3 weeks. But they actually celebrated by having the Mizzou team out on the court at their basketball time before the game started. So I don't know if you've been to any sporting events here in the U.S., Anna, but they definitely get pretty hectic and crazy. And so I've never seen a chess team celebrated on the court, on a basketball team court before. So that must have been a really fun experience for them.
Yeah, I've never seen a sport event in the US. I would love to, though. I would love to. I have watched a bit on television, but never in person. But I love chess players being celebrated. Now, I'm seeing here, D4 was the last move, and I wonder, Raja was shaking his head. Did you see that, Joe? He didn't seem so pleased for some reason, even though the position looked pretty good.
Yeah, we see this trade, and I guess the idea is if the e-pawn falls, the rook is going to come and attack this king that still hasn't castled. So not sure if he's displeased, if he missed anything, perhaps. But he does have the white pieces against Theodoro, which is a tough matchup. But I see our prediction in the chat is heavily favoring St. Louis University. Mizzou seems to be the big underdogs. Some last minute points being bet on Mizzou, but I do want to mention, just to give you guys some context, these two teams, they're not strangers. This is actually a rematch of the season 1 finals, which is where SLU won the inaugural season of the CCL. So this is a repeat of that, but also they've played last year as well, twice, in fact, once in the regular season, also in week 7, and once in the semifinals in the playoffs. And do you want to guess who won in each match? Anna, do you think one team won both, or do you think they were tied 1-1?
I have no idea, Joe. The way you're presenting it, tell me.
Well, in the regular season, last season, week 7, we actually had Bok commentating instead of playing for his own team. He was a team captain. He subbed himself out, and it cost his team dearly because Mizzou not only winning, but they even won by a score of 12.5 to 3.5, leapfrogging them into a top 2 spot. So Bok had to come back, play in the quarterfinals, and then they got their chance at redemption, a rematch in the semifinals, where they beat the Mizzou team 10-6.
That is insane, Joe. That is insane. Well, there we go to everybody that is heavily favoring SLU. Anything can happen here. So let us know in chat who you think is going to win. Maybe we can take a look at another game. This game is going a little bit slow, Joe. How about we see what Benjamin Bok is up to versus Luca?
A classic choice here, a fan favorite. Luca with the white pieces. And I want to mention, actually, I believe the SLU team is completely identical to last season, but the Mizzou team, they're swapping out their international master, Josiah Stearman, and now they have Luca and Raja on boards 3 and 4. So Mizzou has an all GM squad here. This is all 8 players being grandmasters, Anna. This is as good as it gets.
Wow. I was seeing people in chat saying, what is going on? Did these people stop going to college and became grandmasters? No, that is not the case. The case is that these people in these colleges are grandmasters and they're just so strong at chess. So, you might think college chess, if this is your first time watching this, you might think, oh, this is probably not going to be high level chess. Well, you're very wrong. This is pretty much as high level as it gets. Some of these players are 3,000 rated. I saw Benjamin Bok yesterday on stream going for 3,050 in blitz. I rated him and I thought, this is insane. This guy is about to be 3,050. What even person can say that? So it is amazing. Very top level chess that we get to watch here every Saturday.
Yeah, and Bok's not even the best player on his team, Anna. If you thought 3,050 was good, his board 1, Nicolas Theodoro, is over 3,100.
Wow, it's just a number so hard to comprehend.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So Mizzou, they've beaten the SLU team before. So I'm excited to see, even though Mizzou can't get top 2, they definitely want to try to show that they are in it to win it. They're able to compete against the top teams. We saw SLU actually lost earlier in the season to UTRGV. So anything could really happen, but SLU, they have all 4 players for all 4 rounds. They're in it. We see Bok leaning forward, hands on his head. He's not at his usual place. So SLU teams, sometimes they're traveling, competing. We actually saw Robbie Kevlashvili. I wonder if we could tune into his game and see. He's playing up against Antipov. And actually, you know what's crazy, Anna? This might be the first time SLU has 3 players over 3,000. Robbie at 3,016.
It is just crazy. We see here in this position, Antipov is doing Antipov things. We know that he's one of the players with the highest amount of brilliancies. He's a great tactical player, and I would be terrified if I was facing Antipov. He's right now seems to be having a great position with his rook on c2, protected by the queen on c7, and now rook c1 was played. So Robbie's really trying to get a few pieces exchanged. And will he be able to do so? I suppose he will be able to get at least that rook exchanged, but taking on c1 does look pretty good, just to keep control of that c-file. I'm wondering what happens if maybe rook takes c1. Can you maybe go queen c2? Can you try to somehow get in there with your queen or create some action? Can you go even bring in the dark squared bishop? I don't know, Joe. This looks really good for black.
Yeah, I love the dark square bishop that you mentioned, just on the long diagonal, completely unopposed. And black has the c file. So, what exactly is the issue? Well, white is simply down a pawn, and we see black is just pushing that pawn. So, the pawns are controlling the center. White's king a little cut off in the corner here. We see the trade, and now queen takes. Flight square is very important. Our queen guarding this potential bishop coming in with a check. But yeah, queen d1, definitely a move here, but king up to h2, and it's not clear how to proceed. So from here, you just got to try to keep making progress. It looks like white's kind of holding everything together. Everything right now is defended. So not clear how to break through.
Yeah, I was thinking if you can go something like rook d8 and then try to push that d pawn. I was also wondering, is white threatening g4, attacking that bishop, and the bishop moves, there's queen take e6. I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it is a bit scary, obviously, to open up the king that much. We see queen c7 being played, and I suppose I'm wondering what happens if g4. Do we just simply let that e6 pawn go? Or maybe what we do is that we can actually maybe go d4. That's maybe the threat now for black, to go d4 and then take that knight on b6.
Yeah, queen back attacking the knight, and this pawn. You mentioned playing rook to d8, but you don't even need it. You have the bishop here. Even an exchange sack, you could potentially lose this piece. So definitely an aggressive and a tricky move here from Antipov. So we see the queen come back, and this is designed to dodge any d4 tempo. But the knight's going to be questioned here. Where's the knight going to go if this pawn continues to push? And this indeed is the best move in the position.
Yeah, I mean, the knight could maybe go to c4, but that just looks very, very clumsy. I mean, yeah, I really don't like this. It feels like black is just getting such a nice position with the pieces. And here we can actually see the power of the bishop pair. He plays the move, of course. Antipov plays the boss move. Knight c4, and he pushes the other pawn. And he's just going to push those pawns. He's threatening maybe even to go e4 now.
Yeah, this is why you want pawns in the center. And this is just a connected pass pawn. Definite long-term advantage here for Antipov. And this is a great start for the Mizzou team if Antipov can hold on to this position against 3,000 plus rated player Robbie Kevlishvili.
However, the first point that happens in this match is that actually Benjamin Bok wins and beats Luca. So we can maybe see the last few moves what happened there, but pretty fast win actually. It looked very equal when we last saw the game. I didn't think that anything crazy was going to happen in the next few moves, but I was wrong, and Benjamin was able to win there and take the first point for SLU.
Yeah, just a really simple blunder here from Luca, forgetting about his rook on a1. He definitely needs to pick it up, but Bok, definitely a strong player. He's getting the first point of the match.
Yeah, we've seen these mistakes happen, fast games. Sometimes a piece goes, and I think it's kind of motivating to see these grandmasters losing pieces too. It shows that it's not just the rest of us that does that, but it's something that everyone does. Wow.
We see here Basurin from SLU actually getting flagged from the top board. Grigoriy Oparin.
Wow.
Also over 3,000, by the way. So we have half the players in this matchup, Anna, are at 3,000 or higher.
Yeah, it is just insane. And the last game that we have right now is Antipov, as Theodoru also wins versus Raja. So this is the final game that we have in round number 1. Antipov needs to win to tie Mizzou 2-2. And he does.
We see that.
The moment.
On push.
The moment we say
they
it.
heard you. They heard you. So Ravi, I don't know where he is, but he's got this cool purple background. He resigns against Antipov, playing, it looks like, from a classroom. So a tied match so far, and a 2-2. That's as close as it gets. The board 1 and 2 getting the job done against the lower boards.
Yeah, that is as close as it gets, and I think that we might see that throughout this whole match. I have a feeling that it's going to be very close throughout the whole match. So very exciting to see now round number 2 starting at any point. Will we see the lower boards of Missouri taking some points now? You will see. But yeah, SLU's top boards just yeah, played fantastic and got 2 out of 2 there. So let's see what happens now in round 2. Still 3 rounds to go.
Yeah, I'm excited. At some point, the tie is going to be broken. Is it going to be in regulation? Is it going to be in overtime? Are we going to need an overtime? That would be crazy between these two teams. We watched them both play last week, and they both won. So now, this is the last week of the regular season. And again, SLU guaranteed a top spot as long as they can pass UTRGV in tie breaks, assuming SLU wins this, they are guaranteed a top spot, and they're actually guaranteed the number 1 spot. So round 2 now is underway, Anna. We have a game started.
Let's check out the games, and let's start with Theodoro, who's playing now against Luca, who had a very unlucky blunder in the last game. So Theodoro kind of playing this, I wouldn't say passive, but little bit passive, right? To not take the center immediately, and instead fianchettoing the bishop and then waiting for that central push, which comes now with e4.
There it is, e4 on the board. And what's interesting about this move is that it's attacked twice and only defended once. But with a knight move, the bishop will open up. We could also see potentially some queen trades. So how do you feel about this pawn break?
I think it's very normal. I think it's definitely something that you typically do. Now you're going queen e2 to defend it and make sure that it's never hanging. And then sometimes the idea is to place the rook on d1. So we're seeing a4 kind of stopping black from taking some queenside space with b5. And bishop f4 just to develop the bishop, stopping also e5, which is not really a move, I suppose, that black wants to do, because then the d5 pawn would get weak. But just making sure that there is nothing like that. And after this, I think we'll see probably knight d2. We'll see the rooks coming in, and this is just going to be a very safe position. You can even sometimes play, a5 if you have your bishop on d2, kind of depends. But now it seems like that is not really what's going to happen. So, going to be maybe a little bit of a slower game in the beginning, but it's set up for, action can happen at any point. So, now this is becoming the end of the opening.
Yeah, the players are finishing their development, and I think it's really interesting, like playing e4 and then queen e2. I feel like at my stage, especially like my understanding of the openings, I'm just constantly trying to defend everything, and when you can gambit a pawn like that, these players just know the theory is so deep, and they just know that they'll get the counterplay, or maybe there's just an immediate tactic to win back. So like I don't have the confidence to just like put a pawn out there in the center that's like not supported or defended enough. But these players, they're professionals. They know what they're doing.
They've spent hundreds of hours studying these openings. So if they had to spend that time during the game to figure that out, the opening would go a lot slower. So that's why it's so important to memorize openings. We see now b5 taking that queenside expansion, and I think white is going to play a bit more on the king side and on the center, and black is going to try to get a very good queenside, which could be a problem if white isn't really able to develop their knight on b1 nicely. So we'll see what happens in this game. We can maybe check out what's going on between Benjamin Bok and Raja on board number 2.
Yeah, I think it's important. You mentioned the memorization of the openings, and I think that's another reason why Awonder plays Awonder openings, because he just gets out of the opening, maybe like not in a better position, but he just takes his opponent out of any prep that they might have had. And so the game's just completely new and unique. So we'll see. Maybe one of these teams will get to play them in the quarterfinals, right? Because we definitely know that Mizzou is going to be playing in the quarterfinals. So that could be a potential matchup. And it'd be great, Anna, if we saw Antipov play a4, rook a3 against Awonder's knight h3. So,
Please, I would literally almost take a bye from Reykjavik Open that day just to be able to see it.
Wow. Well, that would be actually crazy. But we'll have to fill you in. I don't want you to have to miss out on that, because that seems pretty important.
No, I was partially joking, but it would be a very exciting match to follow. So I hope that we do get to see that. The quarterfinals are going to be super exciting. But let's see what's happening in this game. I feel like we're seeing a lot more solid chess in this match in comparison to the previous one. No crazy openings, not really any crazy tactics in the openings, just pretty solid chess. And now we're seeing rook c2, I think with the idea of maybe going rook d2 and then applying some extra pressure on d5, but also of defending that bishop on b2 so that the knight on c3 can move and there's no tactics with that bishop on e5 threatening it.
Yeah, rook c2 is solid, very, very flexible move. It's multi-purpose, it defends, it attacks, and that's the whole point out of this opening. We see black is tied down to an isolated queen pawn. So there's a huge battle right now in the center, controlling these center squares, right? Black wants to control the pawn to push it, and white's job is to not only prevent that, but also to attack it further. So you were mentioning rook d2. We see the queen coming up, putting more pressure onto the knight and the a pawn. But I'm wondering if maybe white is going to try to bring their other rook to the d file. So there's definitely a battle being waged here between the center and black potentially getting some counterplay on the queen side.
What happens if you take the pawn now? Knight takes d5. Knight takes. I suppose bishop takes would be very scary because of the rook coming in and pinning the bishop. But I'm wondering what happens if queen takes. You try to trade. And then after the trades, the idea, I suppose, is that there's knight b4 threatening the rook and threatening the bishop. So that being a fork on b4.
Yeah, knight to b4 is definitely a very annoying tactic. And part of playing queen a5, I also just feel like the a2 pawn is hanging in some lines. So if the knight were to take, well, you have the bishops have been opened up. Of course, white's threatening to trade with check as well. So if this takes and queen takes, well, there might be queen a2 in that line because now our bishop's pinned to our rook. So we see a3 alleviating some of that pressure on the a file, and this buys black some time to help reinforce their d pawn. So we might see rook a d8 in this position.
And typically what you want to do against an isolated pawn, which is what this pawn on d5 is that you want to try to stop it from pushing. So black's plan right now is, if possible, to play d4, and everything that white is trying to do is to prevent that. So there could be ideas of going knight e2 in certain positions, although now the problem is that with the pawn on a3, after a bishop trade, the pawn on a3 would be hanging. So you have to be a little bit careful, but the bishop on f3 is also saying, if you push d4, I'm going to go bishop takes c6 maybe, and then the defense of that d4 pawn is going to be gone. So there's a lot of different ideas, but that is generally the plan, is to push that pawn if possible for black.
Yeah, and the computer's actually saying now is the time. Push d4 because apparently you have enough support for it. And I don't know if white necessarily wants to give up the bishop pair so easily. And black can bring their other rook in whenever. So Raj is thinking about it right now. He's only got a minute left on his clock, Bok over 2 minutes. So we're getting down to the wire here. But I was thinking maybe now is a good time before the action heats up to tune into some of the other games.
Let's see how Oparin is doing versus Kevlishvili. We see here in this position that a lot of pieces have been traded and it looks like it's equal material. So the only difference here is maybe white has this kind of weaker pawn on c4, but a lot more active pieces. The rook on a1 can go to b1. The knight on f5 is right now threatening the queen. It's a very good piece. And the rook on d1 is also just very strong. So even though white has maybe a worse pawn structure, definitely better pieces.
Yeah, this is actually kind of an interesting couple of moves here. We saw the knight, as you mentioned, attacking the queen. So this rook was hanging. The knight was pinned, but the knight gets out of the pin with the tempo. And once the queen moves, well, you're getting straight back into another pin because now the queen is hanging undefended. And so the bishop still cannot take that rook. So Oparin putting up some problems and maybe even threatening to win a piece, but we see the rook coming over, defending the queen, and now we see the rook is saved.
Now the rook is going to b1, but there is still a lot of tactics. You still have ideas of maybe going f4, and then if the bishop moves, well, then maybe sometimes there could be queen takes queen, and then the knight on d7 could be hanging. So there's still a lot of ideas with f4 that need to be analyzed. Also ideas of going queen g4 maybe at some point and trying to threaten the checkmate. Or there's a lot of different ideas here. I definitely think that white is more flexible, and even though the engine is saying that it's equal, I would take white in a heartbeat here.
White in a heartbeat. Yeah, this position is very complicated still. White has this isolated c pawn, and black has 2 pawn chains. So I think black has the better structure. White maybe has better piece placement, but it's actually really tricky, right? Queen and rook doubled on the d file. There's a ton of pieces here. Rook up to b3, looking to maybe swing over, and now we see the knight is getting kicked. Where do you go? It's not so simple.
No, it's not so simple. I guess maybe it's just a different in styles too. I prefer being a bit material down, but with a more active position. We see now Robbie. I thought Robbie actually had a minute less, but that was just my eyes failing me. But he does not. So he has a little bit more time than Oparin. So knight d4 is what's played, and what is happening now? Can you take the pawn on c4, or is that absolutely crazy?
That is definitely the move. Queen takes c4. I think this was a gamble from Oparin and a big risk, and now both players under a minute. And that, I think, is honestly just a free pawn.
Looks like a free pawn. Can you go rook c1 to threaten the queen and try to put some pressure on c7? I don't know, but I would like to get the queen out of there.
Yeah, and Oparin, he's under 20 seconds now. So grabbing that pawn was the best decision from Robbie, and he's able to put Oparin into a time think here. He brings the queen back, and we see the eval slowly creeping towards black's favor, and he's got 30 seconds, and all the games are getting into a time scramble now.
Yeah, I think that here now, Robbie's a pawn up, and if Oparin doesn't show why exactly he's a pawn down, which I don't think he's really, well, able to fully so far, he's just going to be worse. So he's getting his pieces active, he's trying to do something, and anything can happen here with the time scramble. Rook d7, is he going to bring the other rook? Stopping rook d8, just applying the pressure to make it scarier, at least for Kvashvili. Some trades, a4, so that the pawn is not hanging anymore.
Yeah, Oparin's trying to complicate things, but this is looking great for Robbie. I want to check in with Benjamin Bok again.
Yeah, he has a few seconds left, and he seems to be in a better rooking game, as he is 1 pawn up, but not just any pawn. He has a pass for, but then he blunders it.
The rook and pawn endgames are so tough. It still favors him because he's got the passed a pawn. So even though Raja's grabbing some pawns, he's losing more pawns, and that a pawn is going to be the difference maker.
It's going to be the difference maker. So we see king b5, very nice, with the idea of being able to go rook a4. So now, will we see e4 push? No, he doesn't care. He just goes a6, a7. And now the king is probably just going to go up. What do you do? Or he just goes there, and now the king. Yeah, you just lose. There's going to be resignation, I think, for Raja in any moment.
So Bok, he's up a rook, and he's going to cook.
Yes, he's going to try to win that h3 pawn, obviously, and try to get a passer that could somehow create some problems. And I think that with the time scramble, I like the fighting spirit of Raja. Sometimes these positions are a draw if white's king is not close enough. So you do have to be careful here.
Yeah, but he's got the extra pawn as well. This should be a wrap.
This should definitely be a wrap, especially when the king is able to come in. Now the rook is going there. I think we're going to see another queen, and now this is definitely a wrap.
Let's look at Antipov's game versus Batsurin. So Bok getting the first win, giving SLU the lead in round 2. And it looks like his teammate Batsurin, oh my god, anyone could flag in this game. Both players less than 5 seconds.
So
Antipov's got to move. There's a queen. He queens, and now they both have a queen and a bishop. It's opposite color bishops, but black has like so many pawns.
And a rook. Black has an extra rook.
Oh, I can't cook, or I can't count.
No.
Okay, anyways, yeah, Batsurin He just has to not flag, but he's picking up the pawn. This king is also super weak. Nah, this is game over. Rook's coming into
Antipov
f3.
knows.
We have resignation.
Yeah, the rook was going
All
to
right.
checkmate. Wow, Antipov has been defeated. That for Batsurin should be just an absolute success. So let's see here. This is
Why
just
is he
going to
not
be a
taking
draw.
the pawn? He's not taking the pawn. I don't know
Not
why.
taking the pawn. I don't know. There's no way to win this.
Because even with the bishop, you can't flag your opponent. So that's pretty peculiar. And here we have a bishop, an extra pawn for black. Wait, so Oparin, he was holding on. He was down a pawn.
And he's still down a pawn, but it's the same colored bishop endgame, which makes it a lot harder to hold on to. And I feel like also now this bishop on h6 is kind of not having a lot of squares to go to.
Wow, they drew.
They drew? Wow.
What a defense from Oparin. Maybe we look back and see if there was something missed from Robbie.
Yeah, if Robbie could have been able to somehow do anything more.
Yeah, so in this position, it says it's -4 with the move G takes, and where did he really throw? I mean, I guess they just repeated. He couldn't find a breakthrough.
No, but it is surprising.
Yeah, probably he needed to just push the c pawn, or bring the king in. I'm not sure. I guess there was really you didn't try to go after the white's other pawns.
Yeah, so why is he not?
Just to draw. But
You just
hey,
didn't
that's
see.
good for Mizzou. But SLU still taking a huge lead, actually, going into the second half. So we're going to have a break before round 3 starts. But Anna, do you think SLU's going to hold on to this lead, or do you think Mizzou's going to come back?
Honestly, SLU is so strong in my eyes. I feel like SLU is playing so well. I do see Missouri being able to make a comeback. I mean, yeah, they have Antipov. They have some great players, and they have some surprising players too. I think that could definitely bring a win, an unexpected win. So I can see Missouri coming back, but a 2-point lead at this point is a huge lead. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Benjamin Bok at 2 out of 2 right there says it all. He put an easy emote in the chat. He's also cheering on his teammates. So his teammate Batsurin, 4th board, getting a big win out of Antipov, board 2 for Mizzou. And right now, that's kind of the difference maker, really, because if Antipov had won that game, we'd be tied at 4-4. So Batsurin, we've seen him be the hero, and this SLU team, they fire on all 4 boards. So they're off to a great start. They are pleased with their 2-point lead. Let's see if they hold on to it.
Before we take the break, enter the CCL Predictions Challenge to win big. 6 teams enter Division 1 playoffs. Who's your pick to win? With over 20 divisions, the winner of each bracket will receive 6 months of Diamond membership and a JBL Flip speaker from our Predictions Award partner, SIG. Brackets will open on March 13th, and all entries must be received by March 16th at 10 a.m. PST. More info coming soon. Joe, can you please help our audience by start filling out their brackets? Give us a prediction and a team to watch.
Well, the teams we're watching right now definitely are up there. I think SLU would be the safe choice. If you guys are into gambling or betting and you want the best odds, SLU's the defending champs back-to-back, and it looks like they're going to be the #1 seed going into it. But if you don't want to cheer for SLU, or you want to take a risk, a gamble, there's definitely some dark horses out there. Webster, obviously new to the CCL. Mizzou, as we're watching right now, you can never count them out. Even Chicago today, I don't know how many people would vote for them, but if they pull it off, then you'd probably be the only one to win. So lots of teams to choose from.
Yeah, those would be some great odds. I mean, especially if Awonder just, if he starts like winning a lot of his games, which he has in the past, but that could definitely be a team to watch out for. But Joe, I don't know. I am at heart someone that likes to predict, you know, the dark horses, but I just feel like Webster looks so strong this season. They're coming in for the first time. They're looking so strong. And I think I'm going to say Webster. You know, in the beginning, I didn't really believe as much, but after watching this whole season, they've just felt so strong. So I would probably go for Webster. Or maybe Mizzou. But
what about
do you think?
SLU?
Well, I go with SLU too, but you said SLU, okay, Joe? So I didn't
You
want
can
to say
choose
the
them
same
too.
as
It's
you.
fine.
But I feel so boring choosing the exact same as you. So actually, in my heart, I think SLU as well. But if I have to say someone else, I would say Webster.
Okay, so SLU, and yeah, I should have asked you first. So then, when I said SLU, I would be the boring one, and you would be the original chooser. So, thanks for asking me first and letting me get that first pick. So, but yeah, you guys, the brackets aren't out yet because we still need to wait for the season to finish. So stay tuned on the Collegiate Chess League's Instagram, where we're gonna announce more details.
Yes. Now, watching the finish of SLU Missouri will only help you nail your predictions. Round 3 and 4 are coming up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back very soon.
Looking for new ways to enjoy chess? Check out our schedule of Chess.com community events today. Mondays, play Rapid Opening Roulette and expand your opening repertoire with a new opening each month. Tuesdays, compete against other untitled players in Untitled Tuesday. Battle your way to the top in Arena Kings on Wednesdays. Join the crazy fun of the Variants Community Series each Thursday. And finish the week off each Saturday with the blistering Community Bullet Brawl. All happening in the Community Club on Chess.com.
The Chess World Championship has been a prestigious title for well over 100 years, but oftentimes the prize money was lackluster. Chess in the 19th century developed without an international governing body. World championships were negotiated between players, with challengers expected to raise large enough stakes to entice a title holder to compete. The first official World Championship in 1886 had a substantial prize purse, fitting for an inaugural event. Subsequent championships failed to generate substantial purses. It would take 35 years for the World Championship's prize purse to surpass the amount raised for the first championship. Something magical happened in chess. A new challenger from the United States pierced the Iron Curtain and threatened to end Soviet dominance of the sport. Bobby Fischer won the candidates matches in 1971, earning him the right to play Spassky for the world title. Fischer was different than other players of the time. He didn't just want to be the best player, or the most dominant, or even the most famous. He wanted to be paid. Fischer grew up in abject poverty in Brooklyn, New York, and was highly motivated by money and earning what he believed chess players were worth. The storylines were interesting and diverse. USA versus the USSR. West versus East. Capitalism versus communism. The world was ready to see these two superpowers battle it out on the chess table. Fischer's demands continued to impact almost every variable of the event, including the location, the chessboard and pieces, and of course, the prize purse. Fischer even had the audacity to demand a share of the ticket sales and broadcast royalties for the players. At one point, it looked like the event might not even happen. Fischer claimed the prize money was too low, despite it already being the highest in history. Fischer's calculated moves paid off when a wealthy business owner doubled the prize purse, raising it to $250,000 or $1.7 million today. Fischer and Spassky shared a prize purse bigger than all the previous World Championship prizes combined. After their match, Boris Spassky stated to the press how grateful he was for Bobby Fischer and how the money from this event was going to change his life. Bobby Fischer single-handedly raised the profile and catapulted chess into a mainstream sport followed by millions of people. Fischer had ensured that not only he and Spassky, but every World Championship competitor after them earned a deserving prize.
Welcome back to the Collegiate Chess League presented by SIG. Plenty of collegiate chess left to be played today and plenty of chess coming up. We have the Blitz Champs Maryland on March 13th. We have the Collegiate Chess League, the quarterfinals, which are going to be so exciting on March 16th, even though I'm not going to be here. Joe, I am so excited to watch it after. And then we also have the Collegiate Chess League, the semifinals and the finals happening March 23rd and 24th, where both me and Joe will be here together and bring you the action. Now, as you can see, the times were slightly different, and that is because of daylight savings, which is happening very soon and which is going to leave us all confused, but we will figure it out together.
Yeah, honestly, you guys just mark like a 2-hour grace period on your calendar because you don't want to miss on this action. And daylight savings is too confusing between the US and Europe and the rest of the world. So definitely stay tuned, though, for those matches coming up. We're going to miss you, Anna, next week, but we're going to also be cheering you on at Reykjavik Open. But we have more chess left to be played today. So I cannot wait to see the second half of this match. It is not over, not nearly over, because Mizzou has plenty of chances to get back into it. But I do want to say, with 5 points, I believe SLU is guaranteed a top 2 spot. So I don't think UTRGV could catch them on tie breaks. And we're now waiting to see if SLU can finish the win, because with the win, they will pass Webster back and reclaim their #1 seed.
And Joe, do you want to explain to the audience why it's so important to get that #1 seed? Why it is that SLU really should fight and try to get it?
Yeah, because in the playoff bracket, the higher seed will give you better pairings. So I believe in the quarterfinals, we're going to have the #3 seed versus the #6 seed and the #4 seed versus the #5 seed. So if the favorites win, then the #1 seed will play against the #4 team, and the #2 team will play against the #3 team. So you're going to fight for that spot because you want to maximize your chances in the playoffs. You want to play against the weakest opponents possible and set yourself up for success. And that is exactly what SLU is doing here. With a win, they will pass Webster, which is huge because they'll get that #1 overall spot.
And here we have round 3 starting, and we're seeing here Antipov playing as Theodorou, and this to me is an extremely exciting match. We have Antipov, the brilliant guy, the tactician, kind of facing SLU's #1 player Theodorou, extremely strong, rated almost 3,100, and we're gonna see what happens here. So let's see, what did this opening start as? Do you play E4, Joe?
I do play E4, and Anna, this is a 4 knights game, which honestly I feel like is one of the most basic openings. Like, they teach you bring the knights out before the bishops, right? This is as simple as it gets. And now bishop to b5, knight into d4. There's actually a gambit from Theodorou, giving up that e pawn and then just playing c6. So giving up a pawn, white perhaps giving up the bishop pair. Instead, Theodorou just playing in the center. So how do you feel about giving up the e-pawn like that?
I feel like it's very common to give up the e-pawn in these kind of lines. I was actually wondering, do you play d5 to get the space, or do you play something like queen e7 to try to gain back the pawn immediately? But we see here that actually d5 was played. And I think black is just going to get their pieces out very quickly. You're going to castle. So I think it makes a lot of sense to give up that pawn, even though it is a bit scary always to be down material. So it's just a personal preference, I think.
Yeah, and we saw Theodorou do very similar in the previous round. I think he gave up a pawn, but his opponent didn't take. But this time, Antipov says, give me that pawn. And honestly, I just like white.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. We'll see what kind of magic Antipov is able to do. He's 2 minutes up as well. I mean, Theodorou gave up this pawn in the opening, and now I'm not really sure what he's thinking about. I feel like if you give up a pawn, you should go pretty quickly after and know the reason, but he's taking a long time here.
Yeah, he's developing with a tempo, so that is kind of annoying. I guess we could play d3 here. So I was curious, like, how is black going to take back this pawn, right? He just played d5 and he's not taking back. Well, it's because he wanted to bring the bishop out, and we see castles, which is honestly, like, I wasn't expecting this. Why not just play d3?
So I am wondering if after knight takes c2, I mean, are there any tactics? You also have bishop takes c2 if you just want to win the pawn, and then you're going to be able, after queen e1, you'll be able to escape. Is there's some tactics on the e-file with the king on e8? And if you don't move back the bishop after it's on c2, I'm seeing that moves such as d3 could almost lock in that bishop and trap it. So I'm wondering if there's any tactics. Can you see anything, Joe?
Well, castling I was not expecting. So Antipov keeping us on our toes. And now Nicolas Theodoro, perhaps expecting a more common d3 approach, now has to say, is Antipov trying to trick me? He's also looking for these kind of tactics. Obviously, c2 is hanging. You could take it with either knight or bishop, both coming with the tempo, either on the rook or the queen. But instead, Theodoro says, maybe this is a little too risky. I'm going to continue my development with a tempo and get ready to get castled, because I do not want to deal with whatever's going to hit me on this e-file. So both players may be being a little bit reserved. And so now I'm thinking maybe we bring a piece back to d3. The computer's actually calling for this really tricky idea, bishop to d3, saying if you take my knight, I'm going to pin you on this open e-file and take advantage of your uncastled king. So position still pretty good for Antipov, and we can see it in the clock as well. Theodoro's already under 2 minutes, and he hasn't even reached move 10.
Now, that is a huge loss of time, losing more than 50% of your time before the 10th move, and he finds it. This is how strong Antipov is, everybody. Bishop d3, he plays it pretty quickly, I would say, and yeah, he's just calculated the lines. He's seen that after bishop takes e5, he's going to take there first, and he's going to go for the computer line, and then go rook e1. So, just very nice. I mean, I feel honored watching Antipov, Joe. That's kind of how I feel when I'm seeing all of this.
Yeah, last week we saw him with that almost insane a4 rook a3 move and won that game that way. And now we see he's up against Theodoro, the #1 player on the SLU team. And Theodoro just decides, I got to get my king out of the center. I'm just going to castle. And now White can actually save the bishop, bringing the bishop back. h3, Antipov's played it. Bishop pair, and still up a pawn. So life's pretty good for Antipov, plus isolated d-pawn. Now he just needs to complete his development, push the pawn in the center, get the bishop out, connect the rooks. White's in great shape.
I agree. Let's see if Antipov is able to do it. But before that, let's maybe tune into Oparin versus Benjamin Bok, because I am seeing a king on e2, Joe. And every time I see a king on e2, I ask myself what is happening. And there's a lot of questions to be asked in this position, such as, how is there a knight on d6? Why is Black's king on f8? Why did nobody castle? And most importantly, why is White's king on e2? Lots of questions.
There's a lot of lots of questions, lots of mysteries. Let's see this one from the start. We have an English opening here. Oparin with the white pieces. Both players being cut out. It's almost symmetrical here, but we see some new moves being played. And this is why the king's on e2. We just allow that knight to hop in with a check. And funnily enough, White does the same thing back to Bok. And that's why the king is on f8. So both, look at that. The king takes on d3, queen takes on a3, and the king tucks back. So what a wacky opening here from these two superstar grandmasters. Yeah, and now rook to b1. Like, is the a pawn not just hanging? I guess this pawn would have fallen. But anyways, yeah, sometimes these grandmasters, they put their kings in weird places and they play some weird games.
Wow. This is looking great for Black, though. I'm liking the fact that knight b4 can be a move for Benjamin, threatening the queen, threatening the a2 pawn. I like that the c4 pawn is pinned. I definitely feel like Benjamin's king is safer than Oparin's king on e2. So this, to me, just looked great for Black. And I am wondering, like, how do you continue here with White? Do you go d3? That just also feels very weakening. You cannot really stop knight b4, can you?
Yeah, I mean, you could start with a3 and then maybe, well, your rooks aren't even connected yet.
Yeah.
I was thinking even playing a4 is probably your best bet.
a4, knight b4, where does the queen go? It has to pretty much go to d1. No, c1 has to go because otherwise we take on c4. So everything is almost kind of hanging. I really like this for black.
Yeah, this is good for Bok, and Oparin is thinking. So Oparin, he's a top board. He's played the best move, a3, queen takes, captures. Look at how fast Bok has seen all this and is responding. Queen up. Yeah, Bok is very comfortable in this game, and it's against Mizzou's top player. So yeah, I would not be happy if I was the king on e2.
Now, if Bok is able to win this, it's going to be a huge win for SLU. Let's maybe check out some of the other games too. We have Robbie Kevlishvili playing against Raja right now. And we don't see a king on e2 in that game, but we do see a king that has queenside castled. And another king that hasn't castled at all, that has chosen to stay in its starting position on e8. So, question is, what king is weaker? And actually, I want to see, what is the material? Do we have equal material here? We have a pawn more for
yeah, black is up a pawn. Honestly, that pawn advantage is nice. It looks like white should be safer, right? With all of this material in front of the king and with black's king in the center of the board. But the computer actually doesn't like black's last two moves, bringing the knight in, allowing for the bishop to trade it. But apparently queen c1 is the top recommendation. But taking the knight, I think this is a really good piece. So of course taking is decent. Queen takes back, and now white's saying, I'm going to attack your king in the center, because that's what you do when the king's in the center. And if things start opening up, I think Robbie's got good chances to maybe win the material back, or at least have initiative.
I was wondering before if there was any chance of playing b4 and moving that knight on c3 and then trying to capture on e4. I was thinking if there were ideas like that, but in general, I mean, maybe another idea could be at some point to try to just push that a pawn too. If you're able to go a5, a4, and just get both of those pawns pushed, that would be great. But knight h5, now blocking this rook from ever coming in. I like that. The knight cannot really be kicked away from h5. And the question is if this e5 pawn is now actually a weakness.
That's a good question. And Raja's got 30 seconds. We see that pawn just completely tossed away here into the center, into the void, and opening up this bishop trade. So knight will take back, and if this damages the pawn structure, and that's exactly what we see. Wait a second, bishop takes, and now the rook's coming in.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Can you even take? Because the rook comes in, bishop takes, knight takes. What about if you start with something like queen f2 so that the king cannot come in, or something like that? Maybe
the move
that's
is
not
queen h6.
Queen h6, yeah. Just not checking immediately, but bringing another piece. So queen h6. Will he find it?
He does. He's played the move, and now he's threatening to give check and another check, maybe?
The queen is taking that square, so you cannot go there. But you're threatening the pawn on g6 more than anything, I think. And if you go now, king f7, maybe you can go, oh, I wanted to sacrifice the knight somehow with knight e4.
The move
and
is
then
rook g1. This is the only move.
Okay.
Rook g1 is crushing.
Rook g1 threatening g6. You cannot defend it. And he does it. Wow.
And now queen takes, king here. Only move. And then probably queen here.
Just threatening.
Okay. Well, wait, let's see. What's the top move? It wants
you bring in the knight? Knight e4?
Knight e4 to g5, and that's going to do it.
To then both threatening queen f7 checkmate and knight h7. He didn't do it.
Wow. And now the bishop is in time to defend this king.
That's why it was so important to bring. And now he wants to bring in the knight to e4, but now he's lost a few tempos doing so. Rook f1 maybe?
Yeah, this is pressure on our rook. The knight's defended. Rook here. Offering a queen trade. So Raja in time pressure. He's defending very well. Robbie, let's see if he can take advantage of this weak king.
I think the knight has to come up to e4 at some point. He needs more pieces. He cannot just win with the queen and the rook.
There's some checks now. There goes one pawn.
There goes one
Looking
pawn.
now. Oh, that's a huge fork.
Oh, that's a rook.
Wow.
Wow.
Raja trying to defend but unable to do it in the end.
And he gets that rook at the very end. Wow. That is what happens sometimes when the rook is too far away. So we see now a win for SLU, and here we have Oparin versus Bok. Bok really pushing for the win. Look at those rooks being doubled up. Look at those extra pawns. Okay, now one pawn falls. The f7 pawn falls. Will another pawn fold? The g6 one.
Oparin's rooks are just absolutely doing nothing back there.
No, they're
The
like
king
2
is
pawns.
coming. Look at this. You got a sack and exchange, but you're also going to get promoted on. Oparin's done.
This is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. That bishop on b2 stopping the rooks from moving anywhere. It was like 2 big pawns, and both of them fall. And now we have a resignation from Oparin.
Wow, what a match. What a result from Bok, taking down Grigoriy Oparin, and SLU knocking on the door of victory. Have they tied this round? No, they won 2.5 to 1.5. So 7.5 points for SLU. They only need 1 point in the last round to get the win and to clinch their #1 spot in the standings. Mizzou, they need a sweep or 3.5 to force overtime.
And that is a very difficult thing to do against the back-to-back champions, SLU. They've proven just how strong they are throughout the whole season, and they're proving it again today. We do have one more round to go, and that is going to start in any second. But, Joe, do we see any chances of Mizzou going 4-0? That would be the comeback of, like, the history, I feel like.
That would definitely be almost unseen before, but it all, I think, comes down to the difference right now. There's Benjamin Bok with 3 out of 3. There's Harshit Raja, 0 out of 3. We've seen Raja sweep before, going 4 out of 4. Today's just not his day. Benjamin Bok, he's looking to go 4 out of 4. He just took down Oparin, and next up, he's got Antipov. So that's going to be a huge round as well. I cannot wait to see how this finishes out. I'm expecting SLU to be able to hold on to it pretty easily, but they still have to get those points. So Mizzou, not out quite yet.
Absolutely not. So let us know in chat if you believe in miracles and if you believe in the comeback story of Mizzou's sweep. That would be insane. But the round is about to start in any second. We see just Benjamin Bok that hasn't come back. Maybe he went to the bathroom or went to grab some water in the break. And now he's, just planning on going 4 out of 4 if he can. But he's facing nobody else than Antipov, or no one, what's the saying? No other than Antipov. So that's going to be a tough matchup for Bok. I'm really excited to see that game.
Yeah, but first we have Oparin and Theodorou. So Theodorou's got the white pieces up against Oparin. Looks like both sides have fianchettoed their light square bishop opposite each other on the main diagonal. White has already castled. So Theodorou loves to just get castled early. He's not really pushing in the center. He's just staying very solid. And we've seen him do this time and time again. So it's on Oparin to lead his team back into this match. They're down by 3. So tough task with only 1 round to go. And again, Theodorou just playing e4. Like, he just doesn't care about this e-pawn. And the players are just not taking it.
I think that he is that if you take on e4, you have knight g5. So then you're immediately pinning that whole diagonal. But he's playing in a very similar way as before. And I feel like throughout the season, you get to know these players. You get to know their playing styles. You get to know their openings. And I think it's fantastic to see that a lot of them actually, they have a playing style and they stick to it. You can tell their personality and who they are from these games, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and definitely we saw a lot of Awonder's personality with his opening choice play style. So I definitely agree with you there, Anna. And I mean, also the situation kind of changes what kind of openings are required, right? So Awonder knows in a regular season, maybe the match isn't so important. And Theodorou knows, hey, we're winning right now. The pressure's on my opponents. So if I just play solid, then it's going to be tough to beat me, right? Because if I play risky openings and start risking things, then it's a good chance I might mess up and make a mistake. So when SLU's being solid like this, it's going to be tough to beat them in this last round.
It is. And Theodoro is just saying, I'm going to lead my team to win, pretty much. And has a lot of time right now. Oparin is taking his think here in the opening, and he ends up playing d4. Now the center is pretty close. Sometimes ideas here are to go a3 and b4, and in that way try to create some sort of break. We're seeing here h4, also a move that Theodoro played in the past. The idea just being to stop g5 from being played so that the bishop can happily stay on f4. And one thing that happens when you push this d pawn is that, yes, it looks like black is getting a lot of space, but it's opening up for the path for white's knight to be able to go knight d2 and maybe knight e4 at some point and knight d6. So I am right now seeing a clear path for the knight that it could take at some point.
Yeah, that would be a beast of a knight on d6. Black would pretty much have to take that, and you'd have to wonder if our pawn, it's defended by the bishop, but could it stay there long term? It's not clear, but one thing is clear. White definitely is taking some space, both in the center and on the edge. Black questioning if they should castle or not. Probably they should. But yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to look at some of the other games. We mentioned Bok and Antipov being a really big one.
Let's see what is happening in that game. And obviously the king is on c3. I mean, I would expect nothing less from a game between these two players. Joe, how did the king end up to c3? Can you take us back a few moves?
We'll take it from the beginning. d4, c4, queen c2, trade. This is your opening. Well, not the cow, but okay. Still, though, the question: the king is on c3. How is that possible? Castle's long here.
Wow.
And now we see a trade and not trading queens. Check, king up. If rook takes pawn, there was knight to b3, and now we see the king is getting checked yet again and has to keep defending and cannot go back because of the fork again. So that is how we end up with the king on c3. So a brave king here, and we see the knight is just hanging here. Would you take the free piece, Anna, or do you think this is maybe not so free?
Oh, I would take the free piece, I think. But maybe it would require a little bit of calculation, because the queen coming in and then queen takes a3 being a threat looks scary, but I feel like the king can maybe go back to b2 and a1. I don't know. It is looking very, very scary. But I think right now, yeah, he's thinking about it. He's going to take a big think, because this is an important moment in the game, and he doesn't do it. He goes for the checkers, and then he takes it.
Check and then take. Bok is saying, I don't believe you. I'm calling you out on your bluff. And Antipov's got 4.5 minutes. He just lost a piece. And the eval says it is completely even if black plays rook f to d8. Did you see this follow-up?
I did not. I thought queen takes c5 was the natural move. I am wondering, do you know why he went for the check first instead of doing the same thing with the queen on f3? I would feel like the queen on f3 would be defending on b7 a bit better.
I don't know, honestly. Maybe there's like queen here with the rook, and that's why we want the queen here.
Yeah,
because that is the top move. If queen takes c5, queen d6 is played. Now, a move order, I'm not sure if the queen, you probably could have done the same thing. I'm not sure how important it is, but we see rook a to d8 instead of rook f to d8, and the computer's now saying that the best move here is queen to h4, putting pressure on the f6 pawn.
Not really allowing queen takes c5, as there would be queen takes f6, and then the rook would be hanging on d8. So this has to be a very precise game. I mean, my first initial reaction was that maybe rook d6 is a good move, and that is what he does. But it was my suggestion, and that means a bad move. Bok, don't do what I want to do.
Well, listen, it's not over yet. The eval bar, I know, is freaking out, but the players don't know that themselves. It's still a good move, but it's bad if black can find the one and only
That was
move,
what I was thinking. He didn't play
E5
it.
not played, and now the rook d6 move is great because this allows white to complete some development. The move apparently is bishop to d3. I love how every move, the eval bar is swinging, and it's just a complete gamble if the players can actually find the best move or not. And this was a moment where Antipov made a slight inaccuracy, pawn takes, and now the only winning move, queen h4, and he's played it. He's just going for checkmate, and the pawn is pinned.
He knows. I mean, by his reaction, he knew that he was now winning. And yeah, this is just going to be over. I am really proud though, Joe, because I saw rook d6 and e5, and now I'm feeling very happy about that. But I don't feel happy for Antipov. That was just b6 was just the move that there just changed everything. But very nice game by Benjamin Bok, just finding all the crucial moves in the right moment.
Yeah, and Benjamin Bok, he finishes this with a perfect 4 out of 4 score to also get the win for his team at 8.5. So what an absolute dominant performance from the streamer, the team captain, Benjamin Bok.
Absolutely magnificent performance, and he could just not be happier. 4 out of 4 is as good as it gets. Let's check out the next game. So we have here Theodoro playing versus Oparin. Looks like Theodoro has been able to get an edge. He has some pretty advanced pawns, it looks like. Has his queen up, kind of looking at h6. And the only thing that I see that black has that's quite scary is that g file, rook g1, sorry. But it's not really that scary because the king goes up to e2. And what do you do with the rook over there?
Yeah, this king has packed his bags and he's vacating his home. He's leaving the king side. He's looking for greener pastures. So he's traveling up to e2. We've seen this a couple of times now. But yeah, I love this position for white. And looks like both kings have decided to transition.
They have, and I love your saying there. Vacate. What did you say? Vacating?
Vacating?
Vacating, that's the word. Yeah, I love that. So
wait, is this not just a fork? What was this?
Yeah, it's just a fork, no? F5?
Well, wait. So I guess the queen can take and our pawn is pinned?
I suppose that would be the best continuation, but
knight here? Discovery.
Just winning material, it looks like.
This. Okay, queen here saying you take me, I'll take you. But then, okay, if you take back, they'll take back. This is just too complicated. This is like
rook takes e5. Rook
queen takes f7.
Oh, you take on f7? I wanted to go rook takes e5, rook takes queen, and then maybe just going rook takes e5 and just winning some pawns. But maybe there's something better. Maybe you do have queen f7 first. I think he's calculating it. Also looks very strong, asking the queen where it's going to go and getting an f passer.
Yeah, queen f7 takes, and I think like by declining the trade, you're putting pressure back on your opponent to figure out how on earth they should defend. And so now the queen leaves, and now we take the 7th rank. This is the strongest place to put your pieces. And okay, you lose this with check. Maybe you're going to lose your knight too, but this is going to come with devastating consequences. The king is going to be checked and probably meet his demise. So rook comes to defend, and now we have an opportunity to bring in another piece, our knight, and this king is just feeling much more loose than this white king.
And not only that, this is a fork right now, so I suppose you would have to go something like queen f3 to attack that d3 pawn. And can you take the rook now? Because if you go knight takes rook, queen takes d3, king a4, actually the pawn on c4 is defended, but once again, Theodoro going for my suggestions, and it is not looking good. Queen c2, check. You go b3 maybe then? But then there might be like queen d2, and then all of a sudden, or queen c3, and all of a sudden it's almost a checkmate on a5 or b4.
Check.
Wow. What is this check?
And either take, and now you're adding another attacker to black's king. So this was not the move. Queen c2 apparently was a draw. This move allowing the king to come back. Yeah, this was a miss from Oparin. What an absolute gamble. And meanwhile, this knight's still hanging and threatening to come in. We see a queen block, and why not? Because you're just up. You're up in exchange. And look at this pawn.
Yeah, the f6 pawn, you can almost just start pushing it now. Bring in another rook. There's really nothing. You can bring up the king to c4. This is amazing. The d pawn can't do anything. The g pawn is too far away. The problem here is black's king and white's rook just pinning that knight. So yeah, there we go, king c4. I think Theodore is going to take this home, but that was just an amazing chance by Oparin that was unfortunately missed.
Yeah, let's check on the last two boards we haven't looked
Yeah.
at yet. This is Luca versus Robbie, and it's looking great for black. We're in check right now.
We're in check. Do we have queen f4? Oh, no, we even have a checkmate. Even better. What a beautiful finish by Robbie.
I need a slow motion replay. That was too fast. What on earth? Queen check, king here, queen check, queen f2, and queen g2. All right, so that was just for me as a mere mortal. I had to slow that down to process it. But we have one last game to look at, Raja and Batsurin, and this is looking good for Batsurin. But both players less than 10. Oh my god, another checkmate with both bishops and a rook.
Wow. Just take us back there. Take us a few moves back. I need to see what happened there.
All right, so this position looks fairly even, but I love this bishop on c3 for Batsurin. Getting the rook in as well, the knight in, and this check is actually a big blunder because now the bishop was needed to defend on c2. The king finds some safety. After the bishop comes back, the knight snaps off that piece, opening up this king even further. Bishop hits the rook. Bishop comes in for b3. You're not defending that. And slowly but surely, the bishops and the rook come in. And that's that. That's the game.
Wow. Wow. And actually now we can see that Nicolas Theodorou also won his game. So this was a sweep, but it was a sweep for St. Louis. We were saying that Missouri needed that sweep, but it was a 4-0 opposite. What a crazy match. SLU is just looking stronger than ever. Missouri is such a strong team, but they lose 4.5, 11.5 to St. Louis. What a match, Joe.
That is absolutely wild, Anna. The match was tied 2-2 after one round, and in 3 rounds after that, SLU held Mizzou to 2.5 points in 3 rounds. They couldn't even get a point per round after that first round. So St. Louis saying, listen, we're here because we are the favorites. We're the defending champs. They just won the regular season outright over everyone else, the rest of the competition, and they did it in a dominant fashion, 11.5 to 4.5 here against Mizzou. So we're just waiting for one last match tomorrow that was rescheduled, and we're going to find out what the playoff bracket is and who everyone's going to play against.
Joe, can I change my prediction? Can I say that SLU is going to win the whole thing? Can I join you?
Of course, Anna. It's never too late to hop on the SLU bandwagon.
Amazing. We are going to be having an interview with the one and only Benjamin Bok in just a few moments. But before that, we're going to go on a break. Don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss the interview.
Where's Check? Oh, sorry. I didn't hear you say anything. Yeah, thanks. I thought Padana played extremely well, very, very solidly. Didn't make mistakes and made good positional moves all the time. The last time I was wiped out by a woman was by Nona Geprindashvili in 1966. She beat me.
She beat you.
Two wins and one draw.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm retiring.
Did you know you can add emoji to your online games and analysis boards? Simply click on the emoji palette icon, select your emoji, and left-click on the board. You can choose from a host of notations, animations, emoticons, and even your favorite chess personalities. Emoticons will fade away after a few seconds. However, notations and special animations remain on the board until they are cleared. To clear them, simply left-click on the emoji or hit the Clear All button at the bottom of the palette. Have fun. Try them all on Chess.com.
I'd classify trading as a game, really, that you're playing with competitors and basically every market participant in the world. My path, I came in as a poker player, but I think that the main thing that everybody has in common is a sense of competitiveness and interest in gaming and strategy in general. Yes, you can actually use gaming skills for your career and for something to do on a day-to-day basis.
Welcome back to week 7 of the Collegiate Chess League presented by SIG. We are joined by no other than Grandmaster Benjamin Bok. Bok, welcome. How are you feeling? You just won the whole season, or the whole regular season.
Yeah, no, it feels great to beat Mizzou today, one of our biggest rivals, and especially very happy to go 4 out of 4. And yeah, we won the regular season, so our main goal was to finish top 2 and qualify to the semifinals right away. But perhaps this will give us a slightly better pairing. I mean, I don't know, maybe Joe, maybe you know who we will play in the semifinals?
Well, the regular season's not over yet. We do have one last match between UT Rio Grande Valley and Athens, which is going to happen tomorrow. So once that happens, we'll know for sure. So I think Athens could maybe take the 6th spot from Chicago. But all things considered, you guys are just going to wait for the semifinals. So you got yourself a bye week next weekend. So congrats on that. You guys also not only getting a top 2 spot, but winning outright, as Anna mentioned, the number 1 seed, which is very exciting. I wanted to ask you, how important was that number 1 seed for your team, considering last season you guys actually lost to Mizzou in week 7, forfeiting that top 2 spot, but you guys still came in through the quarterfinals and ended up winning the entire playoff bracket anyways?
Yeah, also last season showed that I cannot take a week off. I mean, I took the week off, and the team lost horribly. So I figured, like today I should play and pull through, and that's pretty much what happened. But yeah, no, like I said, our main goal was to finish top 2. I mean, I wouldn't be too worried if we had to play in the quarterfinals, but it's just nice having to play one last match and having a week off. And yeah, overall, I mean, I felt like our chances were pretty good as long as everyone could make us, because some of us were traveling from time to time. But yeah, happy that we won the regular season.
And you were very important, Bok. I mean, you won the 4 games today. You were like the hero of the team. It was amazing to follow your games. I wanted to ask you if you thought actually coming in to the season, if you thought that SLU was going to win the whole regular season, especially considering that Webster is coming in this time and they're a very strong team too. What were your thoughts coming in this season?
Yeah, and I knew it was not going to be easy. Again, I see Mizzou and Webster as our 2 biggest competitors. The match against Webster last week was very tough. We won by 1 point. And yeah, today we won by quite a big margin against Mizzou, but we've had some very tough matches against them as well. But yeah, like I said, our main goal was to finish top 2, qualify to the semis, and that was still for a long time up in the air. So very happy that we got that. And yeah, like I said, hopefully, I mean, again, like I feel like if everyone could make it, we always have a very good chance to win. But Robbie was playing some tournaments, Dambasurin, so there were a few matches, for example, that won against Rio Grande Valley, where it was quite a mess, where with Dambasurin missing the first 2 games. But if none of that happened, I had a pretty good feeling about the matches.
Yeah, Benjamin, you mentioned travel and all these other competitions, and I wanted to ask, where are your teammates playing from today, or yourself? Usually you're streaming your matches from home, right? So where is everyone playing from today?
Yeah, so Robbie is in Boston. He's there on a little vacation with Jordan van Foreest. I think Nico is at home, Botsurin is at home, and I'm playing from the Chase. So, but today at least I got a much better spot than that match against UTRGV. So I think that was the key difference. And
who do you think that your biggest threat is this season, would you say?
Yeah, our biggest threat. Yeah, I mean, I'd say probably Webster. I mean, we had a very tough match against them. We only won by 1 point. And I'm curious to see if they will bring in Benjamin Cladura for the playoff. So I'd say probably Webster because we only beat them by 1 point.
Benjamin, we had a question from the chats from username Akawadli, and obviously you went 4 out of 4 today, a perfect score, and your team was pretty dominant. So the question is, what does it take to defeat you?
I mean, just playing better chess than me, I mean, I play good chess today, but of course I'm I'm only human after all. So I also make mistakes, but today, fortunately, I played pretty well. So today, nothing could stop me. I guess that's the answer.
That is very humble of you. Now, after today's amazing performance, how confident do you feel about winning the tournament? And this is also a question from chat from someone called Jeremy. And I wonder if this is their username. That is the coolest username ever, to just be called Jeremy. But yeah, how confident are you about winning the tournament?
I think we have pretty good chances. Just everyone has to. Yeah, I think everyone can just play the final weekend. So that's going to be important. Hopefully nobody does any degenerate stuff like going out or whatever, and then I think we'll just win the matches.
Bok, I had one last question from the chat. Obviously, you weren't streaming today, as sometimes you do, and having those fans tune in, I'm sure means a lot to you and maybe encourages you. But today you went 4 out of 4 anyways. But where's your hype man today? Do you know where he is?
Well, I'm happy that the hype man is not here today. It means he's focusing on his own grind. So that's what I want to see. I'm happy if he's doing well. So I guess he's just focusing on whatever he needs to do.
Well, congratulations once again, Benjamin Bok, and congratulations to the whole team that has now won the regular season. Thank you so much for joining us as well in the interview, and we will be catching you on stream. Everybody should follow Benjamin Bok on Twitch as well. We'll give a little shout out over there. Now, here's what's on the line heading into the final weekend. Here we have the current standings. And next week is going to be so exciting with the quarterfinals. We see our St. Louis University and Webster going directly to the semifinals, and we will be seeing we don't really know exactly, obviously. Like you said, Joe, there's still a match that's going to happen, so we will have to wait for that, but this is at least how it's looking right now. Do you want to remind everybody what it is that we're waiting for?
Yes, so tomorrow, University of Texas Rio Grande Valley will finish their last match against the National Technical University of Athens. So Athens is already ahead of Chicago in tie breaks, but they're behind in the total score. So all Athens has to do is beat UTRGV, a very tough task, but still definitely possible. UTRGV, I believe, is on the road competing in other events, so that's why they couldn't play today. But we're going to wait for that, and once that result is in, we're going to have the final bracket ready. So number 1 and number 2, SLU and Webster, they're already in the semifinals, and the remaining 4 teams are going to have to compete in the quarterfinals to see who moves on to that final 4.
And you do not want to miss that. Now, Joe, this week has been amazing. We've seen some amazing chess, we've seen some amazing games, but this whole regular season has been amazing. And I am so happy that I've been able to commentate it with you.
Yeah, Anna, and what's also incredible is that it's not over quite yet. So we still have 2 weekends left, and I'm really excited for the semifinals and finals where you're going to be back. That's going to be back-to-back days of college chess, the Final Four. And the season's been incredible and amazing. You've done a fantastic job, Anna. It's been an absolute honor to commentate with you. So thanks for being here, and I can't wait to finish the playoffs.
Me too. You've been an amazing co-host, Joe. Could not ask for anyone better. So thank you for joining me here every week as well. And thank you to all the fans that have been tuning in every week. It's amazing to see your support and how hyped you are for the different teams. Now, don't miss the best to come, which is the quarterfinals next week. It's going to be really exciting. And Joe, I am sorry that I'm not here then, but I am sure that you'll have another amazing host that will be joining you then.
Yeah, well, with Benjamin Bok getting a bye week, maybe he'll be back. So we'll see.
We'll see what happens. But do not miss the quarterfinals, the semifinals, or the finals that are coming up very soon. Thank you so much once again, everybody, for tuning in today. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining. And Joe, do you have any last words you want to tell everyone before we say goodbye?
You guys, this is the most exciting part of the whole season. Playoffs, we're here. Make sure to fill out your prediction brackets and win some prizes and cheer on your favorite teams. So yeah, thanks everyone.
Great words. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week.